Hello, 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 my friends. My name's Dr. David Snyder, and welcome to Secrets of Human Influence, or otherwise known as Weapons of Social Seduction and Defense Against the Dark Arts. Today's training is going to be about the art and science of human influence, both ethical and less than ethical. We're going to teach you the most powerful, effective, and efficient ways to get people to simply like you, love you, and trust you in the shortest amount of time possible, and how to do that in an ethical, honest, and powerful way. And then how we can actually take these same ideas, these same concepts and techniques, and teach you how to turn the tables on the bad guys, the bad Jedi, or the Sith of the persuasion world, the manipulators, the sociopaths, the dark triads, the Machiavellians. I'm going to save a lot of that for part 3 of our webinar, because once we've gotten through the foundations, now I can, when I reference things like the Echo Technique or the 3 Magic Questions protocol or resistance removal or emotional bonding, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going to try and go fairly quickly and still be comprehensive. But again, if you're just joining us, if you missed my little pre-game warm-up, as we like to say, for our records, so we all know that we're all part of the same community. Remember, we're zooming this live, and that's also being live streamed to our wonderful folks and friends out on YouTube. Remember that we have a zero tolerance trolling policy. I have several people, we call it whack-a-troll. If they even remotely get the hint that you're pulling people's experience away in a negative way, they'll just ban you. All right. Most of the people we bring into Planet David, they're here for the beer, so to speak. They're here for the content and the actionable stuff. And that's kind of where I want to start tonight. I want to just lay the foundations out for you and just tell you right up front. I don't waste my time on low percentage technique. I don't have time in my life for stuff that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. If I don't have a high 90% success rate with a technique, it doesn't make it into my curriculum or my repertoire. Nothing in this, and I repeat, nothing in this webinar is theoretical. It's all real world proven actionable stuff distilled down to a core set of mechanics. You don't have to believe any of this shit will work. Shit being a technical term, strategic human influence technologies, right? All you got to do is have an open mind, apply the technique first on yourself and then on other people, and watch the response. Okay. So again, just to reiterate, you're going to need things to write with, things to write on. Now, if you have just a tablet, that's okay, but I would prefer if you could actually physically write things out, because that's how you're going to get the biggest influence on your nervous system, by actually doing the drills and having those experiences. Because once you've had that experience, those doors, once you open them, you can't go back to being the old you. All right. It's really, really powerful when we start to see the matrix, so to speak. So make sure you have things to write with. Also, because this is going to be a bit of a long webinar, if you're used to very short, buy my shit kind of webinars, that's really not what this is about. This is about delivering you hardcore, real world, actionable content that you can take right out into the world and put to use. Okay. There's going to be times during this webinar where it seems like I'm just not getting to the point. There's going to be times when I'm just going to say, do this, do this, do this. And I'm going to be doing it so fast. You're like, wait, what did he say? What did he do? Relax. There's going to be a replay. If you miss something, you miss out on maybe the bonuses for the offers that we do at the end of the webinar, but you'll still get the content and you'll be able to go out and do these things and apply them for yourself. Okay. That being said, if this is the scope of everything there is to learn, even with a 3-hour webinar, I've got time for this. So my promise to you, my commitment, as always, from my heart, is I will take you as far into this rabbit hole as I can. I will give you as much hardcore, distilled, real-world, actionable content as humanly possible, and I will point you in the direction of where to go for the next step. That's part 2 of the webinar. Is that fair? If you think that's a fair trade, go ahead and type, that's fair. Let's do that in the chat for me. Go ahead and do that now. Cool. Excellent, Tom says. Excellent. Keith says, okay, they're coming in. Good. There's Joy. There's Ken, Ellie, Christopher. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Christina Fuentes, Jillian, excellent. Aurora's here. Okay, they're all flowing in. Good, very good. So again, stay till the end of the webinar, because we have an offer connected to the offer. I gave a little bit of a teaser about it during my pregame warm-up, but I was playing with ChatGTP last night and I got this download for a prompt, and I typed the prompt in, and all of a sudden Pandora's box opened and I saw the holy grail. I saw our next product. But what I want to do with that is I want us to create it together. I want to give you guys an opportunity to be in the audience and to participate in the creation of that product. So if you grab our offer at the end of the webinar, you're going to get a special VIP ticket on top of other things that we might add, so that you can participate and learn some stuff that nobody's ever seen, right? Especially not in this format. Anyway, that being said, let's see what else. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, probably not the best use of your time. My intention is never to offend anyone, but I don't believe in bullshit. And I'm pretty sure that most of the people in Planet David don't have time for bullshit either. They want stuff that's going to work fast, effective, and consistently, and that's what we specialize in. You have a problem, we're here to help you solve it. It's that simple. Heather's asking, what if we want the offer, but we have to leave early? If that should happen, if enough people ask for that, then I will post the link early, and you can go there, or you can reach out to Stephanie at 858-282-4663, or Brandon, who is also manning the chat, and they will send you a link, or they will personally allow you in. I know a lot of times when I start talking about all the things you're going to be getting and stuff like that, people, they just start, hey, where can I buy? Where can I buy? If that happens, because I like to talk. I mean, you'll, if you haven't figured that out about me yet, I love this shit. I love being with you guys. I love talking about this stuff. And this is actually one of the first big influence tactics I want you to understand. If you can move through the world radiating a sense of love and comfort and connection with everyone you meet in a non-creepy way, their mirror neurons will pick that up, and their defenses will start to go down. So one of the things that we teach in our classes and things like that is this concept we call state control. State control is the ability to enter or exit any psycho-emotional state at will from any other state. In other words, if I'm in an angry state, how can I go from being raging angry to joyful in seconds? How can I do that? How can I interrupt that state, go into something completely different by choice? How can I move through the world being surrounded by people hurling insults at me and feel good about myself and not have anybody push my buttons ever again? That's state control. State control, if there is a Jedi power in Planet David, it's our state control training. No one can do, that I've seen and I've looked, no one can do what we do with our state control training. No one teaches you how to tap into the power of your nervous system and use it as a fuel source, an energy source, and a connection and bridge building source than the killer influence training and the defense against the dark arts trainings. And here's the best part about that. It only gets stronger the longer you do it. And it's impossible to be caught. But it's also, beyond a couple of techniques, it's also the one thing you will never see on a public video. If you get one of our courses, our home study courses, all the drills are there and you can follow those and practice them. But when you're in the room with us and you're working with not one person or two people, but 20, 30 people doing these same drills over and over and over again, it blows open doors in your neurology and your ability to develop empathic bridges with people that you can test, right? And those doors stay open, right? So you'll get a little bit here. We're going to do some things together. You'll get even more in the video courses. And then when you're ready to embody that training, it comes alive. And we'll just keep stepping. But here's the thing. Think of it like weightlifting or calisthenics for your nervous system. The more you learn to do these drills, the more powerful and pervasive that field that you generate becomes. And we have people, like I said before, we have people who are in the personal injury field. They've sent me videos of their client, the expert witnesses for their opposition, so entranced, so connected to them that they're willing to waive their attorney-client privilege to answer my students' questions. Okay, again, that's one of the places that people are. I have people in the Pentagon. I have people in various three-letter agencies who are applying this stuff. A very well-known behavioral influence guy uses some of the things you're going to learn tonight in his interrogations, right? Why? Because it works. And that's why I've picked the techniques tonight that we're going to go over. But for those of you who are brand new, if you're a first timer, please please type that in the chat for me if it's your first time and where you're checking in from. And if there was one thing that you could take away from tonight's webinar that would have made your investment in the time and energy and effort all worthwhile, what might that be for you? And the reason I'm asking that is because I want you to connect the achievement of that with the process and the byproducts of tonight's webinar. Okay. First time from Phoenix, we got Ellie, we got Jason. Okay. Any other first timers? We got Ken. Aurora and Jesse. Oh, good. Lots of first timers. Excellent. Excellent. I see some hands raised and I would love to raise those. I would love to address those. That kind of pulls me off, but we got Tom, lots of people. Okay, great. All right. So let me go through the standard portion of tonight. Let's get through that, the preliminaries as quickly as we can so we can jump right into the meat. Sabrina's saying, I would love to learn how to counter someone who is dismissive of your power and authority. Oh, that's easy. That is so easy to do. And then the first 3 techniques we're going to talk about will let you do that. Okay. So let me ask you a question, just so we're on the same page. What is the currency of relationships? What is the currency of relationships? Now, if you're a veteran, if you're a veteran of Planet David, this is not for you. It's for the new people, right? This is a class. Yeah, it's a webinar. Yeah, there's an offer, but it's a class. I'm here to teach you. And to do that, we have to be interactive. I thrive on interactiveness. This is how you make this stuff stick. So Ken says trust. Tom says emotion. Betty says communication. Sabrina says respect. Amazingly good answers. Wrong. George says I would have gone with trust. Keith says feeling. Excellent. Functionally, this is important. All of those things are derivatives: trust, communication, feeling, respect. All of these are derivatives of something else, something that is much more fundamental, whether you realize it or not. Irina says love. Also, great answer. Brett says energy. All great, all close, no. Connection and rapport. Manfred says close. You guys are so close. So close. Brad says listening. Oh, you guys are like, damn it, what's he doing with us? All right, you guys ready? Write this down. Write this down. The currency of all relationships, personal, political, professional, selling, dating, negotiation, is attention. Attention. Look at all the words that you guys wrote in the chat. How many of them can take place without attention first? Type your comments and type what you know. Do you get it? If you're with me on this, go ahead and type I'm with you on that in the chat. Excellent. Okay. So some people said focus. Actually, attention comes before focus because you have different kinds of attention. You have pre-conscious awareness or pre-conscious attention. Let's go even one step further. Before you can have attention, you first have to have awareness. Okay. But that gets really nebulous for people, but it's going to become very, very clear on a functional level very, very quickly. The currency of all relationships, of all interactions for us is attention. But where does attention come from? Attention comes from awareness. Awareness is a field of consciousness. Now you have different levels to your awareness. It's when things emerge into our awareness that we start to do something called orientation, right? How many people here are familiar with a concept from the military known as an OODA loop, an OODA loop? If you're familiar with that type, I'm familiar in the chat. If you're not, it's okay. I'm going to explain it to you. What do you mean by currency? In other words, currency is like money, right? You spend it. The more attention I give to something, the more it changes. Either positive, either more I get something I want or I get rid of something I don't want. Okay. Okay. So OODA, observe, orient, decide, act. Let's do that again. Observe, orient, decide, and act. Okay, so the acronym is OODA, and that stands for observe, orient, decide, act. Now, I'm not going to go into the history of the OODA loop, where it comes from. It goes all the way back to around the Korean War, maybe even before. But what happens is you're moving through the world, and you have a certain field of awareness, and then something interesting, something in your environment changes. And in that moment, when you observe that change, you focus. That moment of focus we call orienting. Like, notice I have this 300 180 degree field of vision. All of a sudden something pops up over here and I go, and I orient. That moment of orientation is focus and attention. Does that make sense? It's the attention in a relationship that determines the direction it goes. It's what you pay attention to in the interaction that determines the meanings you make about that interaction and that communication. Are we clear on that so far? Right? When people behave badly, like if I get a troll in the chat rooms, right? If I get if someone's causing a disturbance, what are they trying to do? Are they really trying to fuck with my webinar? Are they fuck with your experience? Well, that's a byproduct of what they're doing. But what does it really get them? It gets them attention. And as people are saying, people are starting to connect the dots already. Where attention goes, energy flows. Now, this particular webinar is what I call a nervous system only level of training. Now, what does that mean? If you've been bebopping around my YouTube channel for any length of time, you've seen me talk about law of attraction, and you've seen me talk about manifesting and energy healing and spirituality and magic and mysticism and all this woo-woo stuff. And yeah, I believe in that. Actually, I don't believe in it. I know it. I've experienced it. So I'm operating from a place of gnosis. But let's assume from pure, we don't have, there's nothing higher in our world than our autonomic nervous system. In other words, if our nervous system isn't controlling it, it doesn't exist. That's where this level of training comes in, because we're going to learn about tapping into the power of your autonomic nervous system to get people to see things your way, to want to do the things you want them to do for their own reasons and like you for it. But what we're also going to do is we're going to show you how the dark Sith of the world hack that system to get you to do things you don't want to do, to get you to do things that are not in your best interest. So Christy's asking, can we seduce someone with this? Yes, you can. Should we seduce someone with this? That's really a closed sales, 100%. Can you change your husband's mood? Like a switch. Here's the deal, guys. What you're going to learn tonight is a universal persuasion and influence system. It's a formula that if you follow, and it's based on how your nervous system works, if you follow the formula, you will be able to exert influence anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, for any reason. Is that a good place to start from tonight's webinar alone? Would that be cool? All right. So the first thing I want to give you before I give you my pedigree and all that good stuff is the currency of all relationships is attention. Now, let me ask you a question. When people pay attention, or when they're looking for attention, what is that doing for them? What is that doing for them? Any ideas? Fill a void. What is that void? Makes them feel good? Ego? All right, the word we're talking about now is validation. A lot of you guys, when we were talking about the things that the currency of relationships, you said love, you said emotion, you said feeling, you said connection. The word that encompasses all of those things is, we call it validation. What if there was a simple, easy to use language strategy that the moment you started using it, people literally could not pay attention to anything else but you. What could you do with a superpower like that? Type it in the chat. Anything. Ooh, command a room. Endless. Okay. Okay. What if just using this one simple language tactic or strategy, you could cause people to feel so heard, understood, connected with, approved of, that in such a strong and powerful way that the thought of not being able to hang out with you longer actually causes them physical pain? What would that be like? What would you do with a power like that? Okay. That's the first gift I'm going to give you tonight. Now, if you've been bebopping around Planet David, this is not new, right? One of my martial arts teachers used to say, basics are basics for a reason. Here it is. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. Let me repeat that. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the words that just came out of their mouth. We call this the echo technique. Okay. Now, the echo technique is a foundational, fundamental piece of, in a loving way, hacking a person's neurology. How many of you have ever been at a party? Right? You guys know what a party is, right? How many of you have ever been at a party and maybe there's a lot of people at the party and you're off on one side, and all the way on the other side of the room, somebody brings up your name in a conversation, and from across the room, your body goes, and you orient on the person who just said your name. You guys ever have that experience? Even though they're not talking to you, they're not directed at you. How does that happen? Well, remember our friend, the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. The observe part of you is basically your awareness, but you have different levels to your awareness. You have a level of awareness that is below your threshold of what you're consciously paying attention to, that is scanning your environment for anything relevant to you. Why? Because your autonomic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system of every human being on the planet, is inherently selfish. It's scanning the world, looking for things that are relevant to it, either in terms of moving the genes forward, survival, or getting some other need or drive satisfied. So the moment anything comes up that your system thinks is important to you, it's going to orient you. Okay. So because you spent so much time saying your name, using your name, hearing your name, it functions just like an echo. It goes right into the deepest levels of your nervous system. It pings every level, and the entire system wakes up and goes, boom. There's something over here you need to pay attention to. When you give a person's very own words back to them, they can't not pay attention to you. But what's happening is, if you think of all the different levels of your nervous system like a bunch of locks or filters, right? And whatever comes out of your mouth has to pass through all of those filters in order for it to come out. Well, whatever comes out of your mouth is like a key. If I put the key back in the lock and turn it, the entire nervous system opens up. It becomes hyper-suggestible, hyper-attentive. And remember, the more attention you generate, the more connection arises, the more power you exert over the person paying attention to you. Does that make sense? Type in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how this works, and then I'm going to go right into the next phase of this. I want to go through three things before we go into part 2 tonight. I want to go into echo technique. I want to talk about emotional bonding, and I want to talk about the 3 magic questions protocol briefly, because these are the things that we're going to use as our foundation in part 3 for how to protect ourselves against the bad guys. We're going to learn how to do it ethically, honestly, and as a way of creating profound intensely gratifying relationships in people, where people will just simply want to do what you want them to do because they don't want to give you up. All right, we're going to teach you how to bond your emotions to whatever you want somebody to do so that they do it for their own reasons. So let me ask you really quick. How many people here, by a show of hands in the chat, would like to actually be super attractive to the opposite sex and maybe even make them find you charming, fascinating, or irresistible? If that's you, type that in the chat. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of you would like to be able to just completely banish fear and insecurity from your life and radiate confidence, assertiveness, and power, and maybe be considered truly alpha in your world? Would that be something you'd like? Use this technique. If you'd like to make more money on your job, book more clients for your business, get that raise or promotion you know you deserve, anybody? Use this technique. If you want to protect yourself from manipulators and easily handle difficult people. Some of you are asking, how do I get my husband to pay attention to me? How do I get my kids to pay attention to me? Use this technique, right? If you want to have people thinking, feeling, and acting exactly the way you want them to think and act and feel, use this technique. It's the simplest, it's the but simplest technique on the planet. When you hear how simple this is and how easy it is to deploy, that can't possibly be as powerful as you're describing, but it is. So many, many years ago, I was a professional martial artist. I didn't go through my bio. I'll probably do that. Maybe I'll do that later, or maybe I'll just post it in the chat. But understand this, I am a doctor. In fact, I have a doctorate in Chinese acupuncture and Oriental medicine. I've had a private practice in Solana Beach, California, where I specialized in treating physiological illness that's caused by repressed emotion. So we don't, some people get nail biting or smoke cessation. That's not what I started my practice on chronic and intractable pain, and progressed to dealing with terminal and chronic illness. So cancer, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, epilepsies, COPDs, you name it, we dealt with it, right? That was my stock in trade for many, many years. I'd offered over 15 different products on various forms of human influence. Again, you can go to globalgurus.org and stuff like that. And you can look at all those things. But I've also been a martial artist for most of my adult life. I have a 10th degree black belt in Okinawan karate and a slew of instructor certifications in both martial arts and energy healing credentials. In fact, I'm actually working on another doctorate in Chinese medical Qigong. So I'm going to be a Qigong doctor as well. And the reason I did that was so I could get a deeper understanding of all forms of energetics, so I can hack it and find out faster, easier, better ways to do it. So if that's something you're interested in, stay tuned. We got other events coming up. But I want you to understand that, and on top of all that, the information you're getting tonight, by the way, comes from my Killer Influence Defense Against the Dark Arts course, which has been ranked the #1 NLP training course in the world for 4 consecutive years. It started with Killer Influence 1, and then we added Defense Against the Dark Arts. Both of those are based on the same curriculum, but they've been the #1 course in the world. And I'll show you the slides if you want to see that. That's all. I should have done that at the beginning of the webinar, but right now I'm going to give you a little demo. This is what the Echo technique looks like in application. This is how I would book people for my classes. I'd say, ring, ring. Good afternoon, Coral Springs Martial Arts Academy. This is David. How can I help you? Oh, hi, David. My name is Bernice. I'm looking for karate lessons for my 10-year-old son, Josh. Oh, hey, Bernice. How you doing? So you're looking for karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh? Yeah. Don't laugh. That's what they do. Yeah. Can you help me? Well, Bernice, tell me a little bit more about Josh and what's important to you about karate lessons for your 10-year-old son, Josh. Well, David, it's kind of a long story, but Josh is a great kid. He's super smart. In fact, he's so smart. His teachers actually moved him up a grade, and he's a little small for his age already. And now he's going into a grade ahead, and he's going to be around all these bigger, older kids. And I'm a little concerned because he's going to be surrounded by all these guys. I'm afraid he might be bullied. I'm afraid he might lose focus or be intimidated. And I heard that martial arts was a really good way for kids to be able to protect themselves and be strong and confident and focused in life. Is that true, Bernice? Just so I understand you better. So Josh is really smart, and he's a really great kid. He's so smart, in fact, that his teachers have actually moved him up a grade. And so he's already small for his age, but you've heard that he's going to be around bigger kids, and you're afraid that they might bully him or pick on him. and maybe he'd be a little less confident, maybe not feel quite as much focus. Is that right? Yeah. I'm afraid I heard martial arts could really help people with focus, but also to protect themselves. Can you do that? Well, absolutely. Martial arts is a great way for people to develop focus and to protect themselves. In fact, one of the things that martial arts has been known for centuries is the ability for people of small stature, people who are small like Josh, to protect themselves from bigger, larger people, and to have the confidence and the focus necessary to really to thrive in any environment, become successful in life. Now, best way for us to help Josh get started on that and learn how to deal with those bullies and to be more focused and self-confident is to bring him in and let him try out a class. Now, we have 2 ways that you can do that. We have a 3-lesson intro pack. It comes with 2 private lessons, 1 group class, and a free uniform. Or if you prefer, we can give him a 2 free trial classes. And it also comes with a free uniform, but they're just group classes. And we can get you guys in either today about 5:45 p.m. or if you prefer, we have a time slot available tomorrow at 6 p.m. Which would be easier for you? Well, David, I think I'd like to try the 2 private classes. I think Josh would really benefit from some personal attention. And can we do the 2 privates starting on tomorrow at 6 rather than today? Because then I can make sure he's got his homework done and he's had dinner and stuff like that. Can we do that? Let me take a look. Sure thing. I can pencil Josh in for the 2 private lesson, 1 group class program. And I just need your name and phone number and your email. And we'll go ahead and send you out that confirmation. And we'll see you and Josh tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thank you so much, David. I'm really excited. I know this is going to help Josh. You know what, Bernice? It's going to help Josh in ways you haven't even thought of yet, but it's going to start with the things you want most. You have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Boom. Guess how many people showed up for that consult? Usually about 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. Okay. What did you learn from that experience? What did you perceive from it? You repeat it, right? How much of what came out of my mouth was different, if at all, from what came out of Bernice's mouth? Is it really that simple? Yes. That's where you start. The most powerful words any human being can hear at any given moment are the ones that just came out of their mouth. Okay. When you use their words, it literally, just like hearing your name across that crowded room, the nervous system says, oh, wait, that's me. That's me out there. Your nervous system is moving through the world looking for itself. That's the secret, right? When Google looks at your websites, you know what it's looking for? Google. You ever notice that Google properties or Google attributes like YouTube and like when they had the blog posts and things like that, if it was a Google property, it always got ranked better on your website than other stuff. Why? Because Google's created by humans. So it has the bias that humans do. Can you use this on existing contentious relationships? Yes. Yeah. I'll tell you another story really quick. Once upon a time, now this story was told to me by one of my mentors, who I think is still arguably one of the greatest conversational hypnotists who ever lived. His name is Kenrick Cleveland. Kenrick, back when he was really exploring some of this stuff, worked in a fitness center. And back they probably still do it now. I haven't been in a fitness center forever, but you join a fitness center and you get a membership card, and before you could go use the facilities, you had to swipe your card. So one day, by the way, disclaimer, I'm about to swear because that was part of the story. So again, if the G word offends you, I apologize, but so Kenrick's working the front desk, and this is back when everybody was roiding out. This huge professional bodybuilder, he was a bit of a celebrity, comes storming out of the men's room, and I'm gonna move this really quick. And he looks at Kenrick from across the desk and goes, "God damn it! There is no toilet paper in the men's room." And Kenrick's like, Now, Kenrick's not a small guy, but this guy was like a Lou Ferrigno or a Schwarzenegger to, maybe a Jason Statham or something like that, right? So he's like, and all of a sudden his training kicked in. And he looked at the guy and he said, God damn it! There is no toilet paper in the men's room. You are a good customer. You are a celebrity. People like and love and respect you. You deserve to have toilet paper in the men's room so you can do your business without any problems. This is outrageous. And the guy looks at him and goes, hey, wait a minute, man, calm down. It's not that big a deal. That quick. But why? Because people are moving through the world regardless of their emotional state. They're moving through the world looking for themselves. They're looking for an ally. Now, this is actually taught to a certain degree in NLP, but it's largely misunderstood. It goes back to this thing called pacing and leading. If you want to change somebody's state, there's two ways to do it. You either match it or you interrupt it. Actually, no, Heather, most of the time, if you're doing this congruently, they will not pick it up. What you will feel is what we call the spotlight effect. So let me put a pin in that and I'll circle back to it. Most people misunderstand this when it's all taught in NLP because they think, okay, if somebody comes at me and they're angry, I get angry too. But they confuse it by saying, oh, I get angry at the person. If we're both angry, but we're doing this, now we're fighting, right? But if a person is angry, anger is going in this direction, and I align with them and I get angry in that same direction at the thing they're angry at, now we're the same. If I go a little bit, if I get a little bit stronger, all of a sudden they where I was feeling like this guy's freaking out, now it flips. Now this guy's freaking out. It's making way bigger deal of this than I am. And that calms him down. And it entrains them back because of the sameness. Now, human beings orient on differences in their environment. One of the ways you can hack difference and sameness at the same time is to become so like a person's internal environment that it takes them, they've never experienced that level of identification before. Remember I said the word identification, because when we start talking about what we call the predator protocol in part 3, you're going to hear that word again, right? We're using it on the side of the angels right now, but there are ways to hack this. Okay, are you guys with me? Because I know I'm telling a few more stories than normal, but was that? Tom says 100%. Yeah, if your husband is sad or depressed, you match the words he uses in the direction of what he's using. Okay. Now again, you do not have to believe this, but just for fun, veterans who have used the echo technique, report, tell the people who are brand new what happened when you use the echo technique. Now remember, these are people that I don't pay, right? There's a reason they keep coming back to Planet David. Jerry says, hey, right? YouTubers, it really works, God damn it. Most powerful rapport of my life. It always works. Nobody ever notices what I'm doing. It's scary, the things you can accomplish with the echo technique. It absolutely works, right? Let me read some of my YouTubers really quick. Okay. People become a lot more present and receptive. Lottie says, I've had hundreds of predictors. I always 50-50. I get, okay, that's a different question. All right. So this is the first thing we need to understand. When in doubt, write this down. When in doubt, echo it out. So this is your first technique, the echo technique. The most powerful words any human being can hear are the words that just came out of their mouth. Now, here's how we troubleshoot this. If you view this as just a technique to do something with somebody, it'll still work and it'll work well. But if you understand the truth behind the echo technique, that it is in fact the most powerful, ethical, and honest way for one human being to communicate with another. In fact, your neurology is designed and specifically evolved to be hyper responsive to this kind of talk, this kind of languaging. I want you to adopt this as your standard operating procedure, the way you're just make a decision right now to go through the world using people's very own words as often as consistently as you can. Not because David says so, but because in your heart of hearts, you recognize that it is the most ethical, honest, and desirable way and gratifying way for one human being to communicate with another human being. Think about if you met someone who it was like they almost spoke your language. It's like they knew every thought and feeling and idea, that when they talked to you, you just felt like, oh, this person really gets me. This person understands me. This person is not judging me in a negative way. And you feel heard, understood, validated, and appreciated. If you met somebody like that, and then those feelings just got stronger and deeper. Let me ask you a question. What would you not do for a person like that? What would you not do to spend more time with people like this? Think about it for a moment. Put yourself in that position. You're the one who's receiving everything you've ever wanted from a communication with another human being. What's that like? And what would you do to keep it? Marry them, Tom says. Well, that's happened. Shirt off my back. One of the things that, you're going to hear me talk about our programs, Killer Influence and Defense Against the Dark Arts and stuff like that. And it's kind of a paradox, because the title of the program is Killer Influence. But our motto, our methodology is to move through the world, making everyone we meet feel ridiculously good for having encountered us and helping them get everything they want by doing what we want. So Faith says, shirt off my back. Faith says, you can use their words to speak up with, which is echoing, and it will help you. Yes. Now, if you move through the world, understanding that this is going to allow you to understand people better and signal to them that you get them. If that's how you move through the world, in truth, okay, I'm teaching you the way to absolutely never get caught with this. And even if you get caught, it doesn't matter. If you come from that place and somebody does catch you, they say, well, why are you repeating all the words I'm saying? All you got to do is look at them and from the bottom of your heart say, I just want to communicate to you that I understand and I hear you better. Is that okay? Now, if they say no, you got other problems, right? That's probably not the relationship for you, right? But if you're truly coming from that place of deep level, empathic desire to make the person feel heard and understood, this will do it. It's impossible to be caught. And even when you get caught, it won't matter. Okay. Now, what if they say antithetical to their values and they won't do it? People can't violate their own values without experiencing emotional pain, right? And we'll talk about that part in part 3 of the webinar when we're talking about predation and why that's important. Okay. But human beings can't go against their very own values without experiencing deep level emotional pain. Conversely, they can't have their values and their desires stimulated and massaged without intensifying or having feelings of pleasure and desire grow stronger. Would you like to explore that? Yes or yes? Okay. For this drill now, I actually do need to go to my PowerPoint, but one of the things that I talked about at the beginning of the webinar was this idea that human beings are moving through the world. Write this down. Write this down. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Are you guys with me on this? Let me repeat it one more time. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want less of. Are we good? One more time with feeling. Everything human beings do is in response to a feeling they either want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. Jeff is asking about, what about logic? Makes no difference whatsoever. Until that logic generates a body feeling. Now, neuroscientists have actually proven this, because in cases of traumatic brain injury, where the corpus callosum, the part of your brain that separates the right hemisphere from the left hemisphere, is severed. And people are right brain dominant, or left brain dominant, sorry, which is the logical analytical side. When that corpus callosum is severed from the emotional side of the brain, people lose their ability to make a decision. Okay? People are not logical creatures. At best, they're rational, but even rationality is limited. It's generated and it changes as your emotional states change. Okay? If you want to go into the neuroscience behind that, look up reticular activating systems, Paul Ekman's emotional refractory period. Everything human beings are doing, whether they're conscious of it or not, is about feelings. It's towards feelings they want, away from feelings they don't want. All you've got to do is give them the information that generates the body feelings that you want them to have, so they'll move in the direction you want them to move. Does that make sense? Okay. When do people, when you sever the corpus callosum, the part of you, the little bridge between the right hemisphere of your brain and the left hemisphere of your brain, and the left brain can no longer access the emotional side, people have lost their ability to make decisions. Their analytical side, their logical side is working just fine, but they can't make it, they can't flip the switch, they can't move into action. Okay. You can believe it or not, right? Even Spock did most of his shit from feelings, right? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. At the beginning of this webinar, I asked you guys to type into the chat if there was one thing that you took away from this. Well, actually, when you saw me talking about this webinar, and promoting it through emails or whatever, and you realized there was something here for you, right? There was something you wanted to get from this webinar that would move your life forward. True or not true? True or not true? Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get out a piece of paper and a pencil. And on the top of that piece of paper, I want you to write out exactly what that thing is that you want to get from tonight's webinar that's going to move your life forward as a byproduct of tonight's webinar training. What are you going to get out of it that's going to move your life forward? Let me repeat that a couple more times. As a byproduct of this webinar training, what are you going to get out of it that's going to move your life forward? One more time with feeling. As a byproduct of this training, what are you going to get? What's that one, maybe two things that you're going to get from this webinar that's going to move your life forward? I want you to physically, you can type it in the chat if you want, but I actually want you to physically write it out on your page, because we're going to do this exercise together. And I do this on every webinar. So if you want to see what this looks like in application, go back and watch all my earlier webinars. You'll see me doing this over and over. Why am I doing this? Because I'm doing the very thing that I want you to learn how to do. Find out what the person in front of you that you're seeking to influence actually wants. And why does it matter to them? And find a way to connect them to getting it. This has two names. When we're doing this exercise together like this, when you're doing it with yourself, it's called the emotional motivation checklist. Emotional motivation checklist. When you're doing this with a client or a significant other or a potential partner, or during a negotiation or a mediation or some kind of interaction, we call this the emotional bonding checklist. Okay, so it's the same process. The only difference, the only distinction we make is, am I using this on myself for myself, or am I using it with another person to bond what I truly want or what they truly want to what they're offering or what's being offered to me? Does that make sense? Are you guys with me so far? Okay, good. So let me see if I can split my screen. I don't know if I can. You know what? I'll just share my screen and we'll just talk through it. Okay. Actually, I gotta find the emotional bonding checklist right now. So this is your echo technique. I just showed you guys this. right? And and if you guys want, I'll actually make a PDF of this. And for those of you who grabbed tonight's package or whatever, I'll show you how to get a copy of it. What we're going to talk about is the emotional motivation, emotional bonding drill right now. This is what we're doing next. So once again, the question I want you to ask, what's the one, possibly two things that I want to get as a byproduct of doing this drill? So what is it you want? That's everything starts with what you want. Okay. And then write out your answer. Okay. I don't, some people want to control their emotions. That's fine. Directly below that, let me make this a little bit bigger. Can everybody see this okay? What's it, go right to this one. What's important to you about that? So let's say that what I want to get from this webinar is I want to control my emotions, right? Okay, so let's say as a byproduct of this webinar, I've learned how to control my emotions. What's important about that? Well, to me, that means no one can push my buttons ever again. Right? And so then the next part of this is, are you guys with me then so far? If you've done as far as I've shown, type done in the chat. So Jesse's saying my heart to be healed. Okay, good. Now, directly below that answer, so here, I've put pay attention, no, sorry. So no one pushes my buttons ever again. All right, so the next question is, what's important about you getting that? What's that gonna do for you? Well, if no one can push my buttons ever again, no one can make me feel bad. And I'll never be afraid again. Perfect. And ultimately, if you got the ability to control my emotions, right? So no one could push my buttons ever again. And I would never get, no one could make me feel bad or ever, and I'll never be, and you would never afraid again. Ultimately, if you had that, what would it do for you? I would feel safe. Or I'd be safe. You see the process, guys and gals. Let me make this a little smaller. You might need to take a screenshot of this. Okay, so that's the process. Notice now, if you're doing this properly, what's going to happen is as you drill down on each next level, you're going to start to feel more emotional. When you've done all three levels and you've got answers to all those questions, type done in the chat. You're close, Christy. You're very close. Tom says done. Done. Heather says done. Perfect. Now, remember, the answers you come up with, a couple of things. Pay attention to the very first thing that pops into your head. Write down the exact words as they pop into your head. Don't edit it. All right. If something pops up first and all of a sudden, no, that's not right. Go back to the original thing, write it down. You can go back later, but write down the exact words that came up into your head. Okay. Now, once you've done that, and it looks like a bunch of you have, I want you to take your paper. I want you to hold it up. I like to hold it up at about a 45-degree angle, right? And I want you to read only the answers to the what's important about question. I want you to read only the answers from question A to question C. I want you to repeat those out loud. First of all, scan your body, stand up, repeat these out loud in the context of being on this webinar with me 5 times. Read them out loud 5 times. And when you're done, type done. What if you're a messy writer? Well, hopefully You know what you wrote. I'm not going to grade them, but stand up. And again, I want to control my emotional state. I want to control my emotional state. I want to control my emotional state so no one can make me feel bad ever again. So no one can ever push my buttons ever again. So no one can make me feel afraid, and no one can ever make me feel bad, and I'll be safe. I want you to just belt it out to the universe 5 times. If you want to do more, go ahead, but speak those words with as much conviction and desire as you can generate, and notice what happens to the feelings in your body as you do that. When you're done, check in with your body, type your experience in the chat. Tom says it feels freeing. Fuck yeah, ripple effect power pose. There you go. Feels good, right? As Anachi says. Feels stronger? How's your desire for it now? You guys ready to get it? Load off my shoulders. Aura says much more. Aurora says. All right. Let me ask you a question. Scale of 0 to 10. How powerful was this for you? Remember where you started. Remember where you started. Check in with where you're at now on our scale of 0 to 10. Ken says 10. It's okay to have doubts. You haven't gotten it yet. You're going to get it. Ellie says 8, 7, 8. What was it? 10. I was in a blah mood before. True feeling. This created a 10. 7. Excellent. Where did you start? Did your energy go? Okay. Darlene had a what we call it, she provoked an ab reaction. So Ken says he started at a 3. Okay. So it went up, right? Let me ask you a question. Why do you want this so much? Why do you want this so much? Look at the number that when you did this process, look at the number you ended up with. Why do you want that so much? Why didn't you rate it less? Sally says, I'm sitting and standing straighter. Yes, you are. Right, Jesse says, it felt heavy on my shoulders and stomach, funny like fear at first, and then start to feel safe and in control. Self-control. Be respected. I want it because I'm worthy and deserve it. Boom. All right. Now let me ask you a question. What is it now? How strong is it now? What did you notice just happened? Did it go up? How the hell did that work? Well, stay to the end of the webinar. You'll learn it all. You mean you can actually cause somebody who thinks they've topped out to actually want something even more? Yeah. Was I waving a watch at you? Say no. You guys want to take it up? You guys ready to go from interesting information to unstoppable communication and persuasion skills? You ready for more? All right. With your permission, then, I'd like to share with you something I put together that I think will change your life for the better. This is called The Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Mastery Home Study Course. And this is a special edition, and you'll see why in just a moment. This is different from other webinars. With this course, the Secrets of Human Influence course is all about helping you take your life to the next level. It's all about how to make more money and close more deals, get more dates, help more people, feel more confident, more connected, to have more people paying attention to you and following your lead and doing what you want them to do. In short, it's about winning the game of life. It's about becoming more charming and charismatic and irresistible. But even more importantly, perhaps even more importantly, it's about taking your own mind and body off the menu. It's about being able to spot persuasion predators, social manipulators, and other forms of criminal types in their tracks, remove them from your life or keep them from getting a foothold in your life and wreaking havoc on you and making your life miserable. It's all about empowering you, not just to get everything you want, but to keep the other side of that coin from taking the things that are important to you. So my goal in this course is to show you and give you everything you need to be moving through this world practically bulletproof in terms of persuasion and manipulation. Okay, so let's jump in. Here's what I put together for you. Now, this offer is good until tonight at 11:59 p.m., August 31st, 2023. And what it's going to start with is it's called the Secrets of Human Influence Ultra Persuasion Home Study Course. This is the core Killer Influence curriculum. It's a 17 video crash course that covers the 7 stages of the Universal Persuasion Protocol. It's going to allow you to understand how and why masters of influence actually think and respond. Influencers and persuaders have a different mindset. They have a different set of strategies that they employ when they move through the world. I want to teach you what that is, what that's like, so you can start adopting these methodologies and thinking patterns so that you can get more yeses in your life, hear no's a lot less, and circumvent the predators and persuasion and liars and cheaters of the world, so you can move through the world getting everything you want exactly the way you want it. That's module 1. It's $297 value. What if you could actually learn to control your psycho-emotional state so no one else could push your buttons ever again? What if you could literally decide at any given moment what emotional state you wanted to go into, like flipping a switch or dialing a combination on your GPS, change your posture, change your breathing, and boom, you're in it. And you could do that in any time, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason. And what if you were so good at it? What if you were so good at it that nothing could knock you off your game? And even if it caught you by surprise, instantly you could mentally and emotionally recover and bring your best version of yourself to the interaction and come out on top. That's module number 2. That is a $297 value. Better yet, what if you could take that ability to control your own state and use it to emotionally bridge into another human being's neurology, like literally like a Bluetooth synchronizing. You could generate an emotional state, get tremendous kinesthetic rapport with somebody, and have them feeling the feelings you're generating so that they automatically change the behaviors and the perceptions of the world to do what you want them to do for their own reasons. What if you had the ability to do that anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason? What could you do with the ability to gain such a deep level of rapport, connection, and validation and communication with somebody that their thoughts and your thoughts literally become the same thing? What could you do with a power like that? That's module number 3, right? What if you had the ability? Let's talk about the 7 most powerful, irresistible, hypnotic language patterns on the planet. Now, I'm not going to tell you why these are the most powerful, but I will tell you the most important thing. I will tell you what they allow you to do. So let me ask you a question. What if you had the ability to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of your listener? Let me repeat that. What could you do if you had the magical ability to make anything you want, cause anything you want in the minds of the listener, and they would process that and act on it as if it was 100% a true belief in their world? We call this the language of certainty. What could you do with a superpower like that? Type that in the chat if you don't mind, right? But that's one pattern. There's 6 more. I'm only going to talk about 4 of them. What if you had the ability to make anything you want mean anything you want in the minds of your listener, even if those 2 things had absolutely nothing in common, right? Even if those 2 things had absolutely nothing in common. That's the second language pattern I'm going to teach you, okay? Those 2 language patterns together install beliefs. What if you could literally install any belief you wanted into any person you wanted? Would that be useful? That's 2 patterns. What if you had the ability to cause somebody to pay attention only to the things you talked about and ignore everything else? On top of that, what if you had the ability to cause their own subconscious mind to start running the programs you told it to run and think about the things you told it to think about without the conscious mind being able to get in the way. Would that be useful? Here's the cherry on the sundae. What if that process happened even when the person knew what you were doing and was actively trying to resist it? What could you do with a superpower like that? I'm curious. Think about it for a moment. Now, I want to tell you something right up front. I am actually under talking about what these things can do. But that's just 3 language patterns. 3 language patterns, and you can do all that. And that's not even counting the echo technique, the emotional bonding checklist. None of it. That's just 3 patterns. I'll give you one more, and then we'll move on. What if you had the ability to force a person's mental movies, the movies they make inside their head, to be exactly what you describe with 0% chance of failure or being wrong? What could you do with a superpower like that? What if you had them hanging on your every word to the point where they just wanted to listen to you talk? That's another byproduct of this training and of this particular language pattern. What could you do with 4 superpowers? The ability to make anything you want, cause anything you want, make anything you want, mean anything you want, to direct and focus person's attention and cause the unconscious mind to do what you tell it, and force a person's mental movies to be exactly what you want without fail. Would that be as close to being a superpower or a superhero as humanly possible? Now stop for a moment and think about somebody who is not as good as you, somebody who's not as nice as you, somebody who's not as noble as you, using these things against you. How would you defend yourself against something like that? The answer is you can't, unless you know how to use these patterns. That's a little bit of a downer, I know, but I'm just putting that out there. The only way to learn to understand how to defeat these patterns is to be able to perceive these patterns and then consciously, volitionally control your state and choose to do something else. If you don't, these patterns will get you. It's just a matter of time. Okay, again, I'm not trying to scare you, but remember, this class I said it was going to be a little bit different. Why? Because it's about empowering yourself, but also protecting yourself against the people who are using this same set of skills. And they're out there, guys. Most of them work for 3-letter agencies or other private agencies, but they're out there. They're highly trained, well-funded, and they have a vested interest in doing this stuff to you. The only way that you can protect yourself is to be able to use these things yourself, right? Get the course for no other reason than to learn how to use them so you can stop other people from using it. You want to know how pervasive these language patterns are? Go read your shampoo bottle. They're everywhere, okay? So what if you had the ability to manage the emotional states of others so that people would just want to do what you want them to do and emotionally bond people to whatever they want so that they automatically do what you want and get because they want to get what they want? That's level 3, or I'm sorry, level 6 for this. What if you could jump into another person's processing strategy, the way they do internal behaviors, and use that to install things or to stop people from installing things in you? That's how to hijack someone's internal behavior code. It's a $297 value. And finally, we talked about emotional bonding. What if you had the ability to so fully and completely bond a person to your product or service that the thought of actually not being with you and doing what you want them to do actually causes them pain? That's what you'll learn how to do, right? So that's the first part of the Secrets of Human Influence package. It's going to come with the Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto. This is a 209-page manual that covers things like proxemic influence, social hypnotic operators. These are hypnotic hot buttons that society has programmed into you, that when they push a button, you automatically take the the prescribed behavior. You guys have all seen this. If you've ever heard the expression limited time only or space is limited, that's one of the socially programmed hypnotic triggers that every culture has programmed into you. I'm going to teach you how to spot it, how to look for it, and what to do about it, so you can actually use it to make your life better, but also avoid falling victim to these well-laid, hypnotically installed triggers. Okay? We'll teach about meta programs, which are context-free filters. There are filters that human beings have that only activate and control how they think in certain contexts. There's other filters that are operating no matter where they are. I'm going to teach you the difference so you can tap into those filters and use it to communicate even more powerfully and effectively with anyone you meet. We're going to teach you lie detection skills, how to catch liars, how to speed read people and understand their psychological hot buttons that'll cause people to want to do the things you want them to do and be able to predict their behavior. We'll talk about dirty, rotten tricks, DRTs, as we like to call them. These are gray hat area techniques that some people might try to put on you, but that once you understand how they work, you can spot them and neutralize them. Okay, that's a $418 value. It comes with an online community. We'll talk about that towards the end of the offer. That's the first part of the package that we put together for you to take your skills to the next level, right? If any of that sounded even remotely interesting, you're going to love what comes next. Total value on this package is $2,497. But wait, as Ron Popeil would say, but wait, there's more. Grab your course today, and you're going to get these special exclusive bonuses. I love this. You're going to love this too. First one, the Defense Against the Dark Arts, Counter Manipulation, Hypnotic Influence, and Behavioral Profiling Secrets home study course. This is the course that has been voted the #1 NLP program in the world for the last 3 years. Okay, before that it was Killer Influence version 1, which is the first course I just talked about. In this course, you will discover powerful ways to profile people and read their body language, their verbal tells, so that the narcissists, the dark triads, the Machiavellians, the con artists, the social, the grifters, the what's the one I'm looking for? Dark triads, Machiavellians, human traffickers. All these people have tells. They have ways of that they use conversationally to suck you in. They have tactics and strategies that they employ to make you think they are something other than what they are. I'm going to show you how to find them, flag them, and remove them from your life, how to extract yourself from those relationships, how to keep yourself from being pulled back in, how to know when you're being gaslit, how to know when you're being seduced is a great way to say it, by these more nefarious people. This is about 40% of the original Killer Influence course. Everything else is all about how to detect lies, the 21 conversational defensive strategies that social predators use to avoid taking responsibility for their actions, how they turn the tables on people, how they reframe things. This is, again, I got to be honest with you. We have a lot of fun in Killer Influence. This course is a lot of fun too, but it's also, because of the content matter, it's a little bit heavier. So I just want to, don't get this course if you're afraid of being influenced or being told the truth, right? If you want to know the truth and you want to see what's out there and how you can make yourself manipulation proof, then this is the course that makes it all worthwhile. Actually, we sell this for a lot more than $1,997, but we're going to give this to you absolutely free. Why? Because I want to. Because I think you came on this class to learn how to influence and persuade people very, very powerfully, but you also came here to learn how to protect yourself. And there's a lot of people out there that are using these things on you all the time. And I want you to be ready. I want you to be empowered. I want you to be bulletproof in as many ways as humanly possible. And this course will help you to do that. Now, again, I'm good at what I do. I'm a great trainer, but I can't multiply zeros. If you're not going to actually practice the things in the course, save your friggin' money. But if you're committed to empowering yourself and moving your life forward and removing these parasites from your life, this is the course you absolutely need. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you free. Total combined value of the two programs I've talked so far is $4,487. But I'm going to add some more stuff to the pot, because once you start uncovering what these people are doing, you're going to need a way to turn the tables. Now, we talk a lot about how to turn the tables in this class, but there are certain skill sets that I felt as I was reviewing this program, certain skill sets you need what we call deliberate practice on, a drilling down, if you will, to really employ these things even more powerfully. And this course is called Renegade Reframing. Renegade Reframing, think about this for a moment. What if you had the amazing ability to overcome any objection in any situation or circumstance in seconds? What if you had 14 different ways that you could literally change a limiting belief, win any argument, or overcome any sales or romantic or dating objection you encounter? That's what Renegade Reframing is about. That's what it will allow you to do. This course is based on a set of language patterns and techniques known as sleight of mouth in neurolinguistic programming. Back in the day when the founder of neurolinguistic programming, Richard Bandler, was training his master practitioners, he would get up on stage and he would challenge people to use the techniques they've just learned against him. And every single time they would try to do a meta model or a Milton model pattern or reframe, he would reframe the reframe. He would change the context or the meaning in such a way that would literally cause a confusion, a pattern interrupt in their head. They would go into a moment of confusion and he could install a different way of thinking. And he would literally use this over and over and over again in any different combination to just completely neutralize all of his master practitioner students. Now, this was something that was taught to NLP. Remember, these are NLP master practitioner people in literal combat and losing to these patterns, right? Now, we've taken what most people think of as a very, very complicated, hard to use skill set and turned it into a fun persuasion game. We literally have a card game that goes along with this manual that we call it the reframe game. We're thinking about turning it into a drinking game where you literally can train yourself to overcome any objection, any limiting belief, any slight or gaslighting attack on you, and just turn the tables on people. It's a fun and exciting skill set to have. And think about this, if you do sales copy or sales writing, what if you had 14 ways to overcome any objection a client or a customer might give you? That's what this will do. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the course, creating it, and it's been one of our more popular courses so far. Now, the best part about this is if you write down all of your limiting beliefs, and then you just start using these patterns on your own limiting beliefs, you can't go back to believing those things anymore. It changes the way your brain works, and it causes you to believe differently. So using this on yourself is actually one of the most powerful ways to bulletproof yourself. Now, why am I saying that? Because social predators are extremely good profilers. They're extremely good at finding the limiting beliefs, the insecurities, the leveraging points in your psyche, and either massaging them and making you feel better or using them to make you feel worse. When you apply the Renegade Reframing patterns on your perceived weak spots, they go away. It becomes progressively harder and harder and harder for manipulators to penetrate your armor. Okay, so this, to me, when I was creating this course for you guys, this to me was a really, really important bonus to add in because it allows you to systematically plug the holes. Okay, so $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you free. Total combined value is $6,484 if you register before the end of the webinar. On top of that, one of the things that happens very often is if we want to get on, we want to learn how to persuade and influence people is in groups. And that's what charisma and conversion is all about. One of the things that we have to do is we have to learn how to be able to stand up in front of a group of people and speak our truth, to be able to present in such a way that people bond to what we're offering and see how it can help them and convert them into clients or convert them into friends or associates or fans. So this is a course that I created for my students to teach them how to influence people from the stage, how to influence people in group settings and mass influence. Okay, we call this hypnotic presentation skills for presenters and public speakers. In this course, you'll learn two distinct types of public speaking. One is a heart-centered approach, which is very, very popular nowadays. Another one is a more pain-centric approach, which is what a lot of predators are going to do. They're going to kind of play back and forth between what your heart wants and what your heart fears, and to determine where the leveraging points are. You're going to learn these two different types of persuasion architectures or strategies, so that you can recognize when they're being used on you by people from the stage. Right? The idea here is that if these things are not inside of you, you can't perceive them. So yes, I'm going to teach you how to do these things, but also in this course, what you're going to see me do is you're going to see me literally take a transcript from some of the most famous presenters in the world who are actually using these skills on you. And we're going to deconstruct their talk. We're going to actually show you the language patterns that I've talked about. We're going to show you the confusion inductions. We're going to show you the emotional bonding and motivation that they're doing, how it all works, and how all these presuppositions and all the things that they're building into their talks are being leveraged against, well, I shouldn't say against. A lot of people using these skills are very good people who have very positive intentions. But there's a bunch of people in that particular industry, they're selling snake oil. And they're happy to use these techniques on you. And little funny story, I had a former video guy that worked with me for a very long time. And one of the people whose talks I deconstruct is D. Harv Eker, a very famous person in the personal transformation and make money movement. And I started deconstructing some of his talk. And every time I would start to deconstruct the talk, my colleague would start to break out in a sweat and get really, really pissed off. I come to find out later that he was actually at one of these talks where this exact script was being used, and he rushed to the back of the room and spent $5,000 on a trainer's course that he never wound up able to use. And so every time I would start to do this, he would have a flashback and he would raise his hand and say, "Yep, this worked. Nailed me." Right. So again, remember that part of this is, again, if you're an ethical and honest person, this will build you a life direction and an income that you deserve to have. If you've been the victim of this, it will teach you what to look for so that you're never a victim ever again. I'll give you one more story about this. One of I train my inner circle people really, really well. So one of my students went to a training by a very well-known figure in the law of attraction movement. And he went there to see if he could learn something about law of attraction and manifesting and spirituality, but he was very, very trained in the concepts in this course because he wanted to be able to do that. And he basically spent the entire 3 days deconstructing what this gentleman was doing. Now, this guy has a very distinctive look. And so as he was leaving to go back home, he ran into two of this guy's trainers at the airport. And they asked him, because they recognized him from the training, what he thought of the training. And he says, "Man, I learned a few things, but I really was fascinated by all the influence and persuasion techniques that he was using." Now, remember, the person he's talking to these two people are actually trainers for this gentleman. And he starts literally deconstructing everything this guy was doing. And the two trainers, assistants, looked at him and says, he never showed us any of that. He never talked about any of that stuff. And my guy just kind of shook his head and smiled a little bit and said, "That's okay, you'll probably learn it," and got on his plane, right? Once again, everything has two sides. You pick where you want to start, right? You pick where you want to start. So $1,997 value. This is yours absolutely free. Okay. We're just going to give it to you. Okay. So let's review what we've got, right? You got Secrets of Human Influence, Defense Against the Dark Arts Home Study course. It's a 17 video course covering the 7-stage universal persuasion protocol. This is a formula that you apply anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance. It's literally just follow the numbers and you'll get your outcome, kind of a thing. It's $2,497 value. It comes with the Killer Influence Mind Control Mastery Manual. It's a $419 value, I think is what I said. You're going to get the Killer Influence, Defense Against the Dark Arts, Counter Manipulation, Influence and Behavioral Profiling Secrets Home Study course, valued at $1,997. You're going to get the Renegade Reframing, How to Instantly Overcome Any Objection or Change Any Belief in Seconds Home Study course, valued at $1,997. And you're going to get the Charisma and Conversion Hypnotic Presentation Skills for speakers and presenters, valued at $1,997. Total combined value, if you were to go to the website and buy these, which some of them you actually can't buy, you can't find them on the website. They're only available through this particular webinar, is $8,481, right? But as I told you before, I want to empower you. I want to make this as easy and simple for you as humanly possible. So what I'd like you to do, today you're not going to pay $8,481, okay? I'm not even going to charge you $6,000. I'm not going to charge you $5,000. I'm not going to charge you $3,347, although it's definitely worth it. I'm not even going to charge you the regular $24.97 or $23.47. For those of you who are ready to step up, who are ready to stop being a victim and to get the life you want the way that you want it, I can't make this any easier. You can get it all, everything I just talked about, for one low installment of just $997. Or if you need a little help, we'll break that up for you into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you got to do to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go. That's www.killerinfluence.com/go. http://www. Hold on a second. www.killerinfluence.com/go. All right. Now, for some of you who may have bought our Secrets of Human, our regular Secrets of Human Influence program, you may have some duplication here. It's okay if you have something that in this, if you already own something that's in this package, just let Stephanie know, and we will be happy to swap out any course of equal or lesser value so you can get a customized package for yourself. Okay, we want you to get as much value as humanly possible from this. So I'm all about making sure that if there's to avoid duplication in your order, but you got to let Stephanie know. Okay. Her phone number, if you have questions, is 858-282-4663. That's 858-282-4663. Operators are standing by. If you call and you have questions, but the line is busy and you leave a voicemail, please be sure that you leave your contact information. If you leave a voice message because you couldn't get through, and we have your contact information, we will call you back within 24 hours and you will qualify for all the bonuses. If you do not leave your contact information, and you call us tomorrow, you will not qualify for the bonuses. Okay? You know, people are always stampeding at the last minute. So there will be, the line will be busy, and that's okay. Make sure you leave your contact information. Go to do this right now, www.killerinfluence.com/go. www.killerinfluence.com/go. As one of my mentors, David Singer, used to say, click the link now before it's too late. Okay. Now, for those of you who are clicking that link now, you're going to love this. Everything we're going to talk about, everything I'm telling you about, you have 60 days to test it. If you come to the conclusion that I'm full of shit, if it's not putting you on the fast track to making more money and closing more deals, reaching financial freedom, if you're not automatically feeling more secure, confident, and powerful, if you're not winning more and more social encounters and becoming more and more irresistible, I'll refund every dime you invested in this course. Try it out for 60 days. If you're not 100% satisfied, I'll refund your money. And in many cases, I'll even let you keep the program. Why? Because I believe in it. Now, don't be one of the evil people of the world who buys and refunds on day 59 just because they can. If this is getting value for you, if it's generating the results in your life that you want, keep using it. Think of it as getting dollars for nickels, and share the wealth. Not I want you to go give money to people, but teach people how to do this. Teach your family how to get what they want. Teach your family how to not be manipulated. Teach the people who are closest to you, who matter to you, how to take themselves off the social predators menu, right? If you have any questions for the next 60 days, all you got to do is pick up the phone. We will guide you through the sticking points. If we can't help you, we'll tell you. All right? If after 60 days, it's not getting the results you want, we'll give you the refund. Okay? You have absolutely nothing to risk and everything to gain. This is the fast track to the life you wanted, the way you always wanted it. Okay? But wait, as Popio would say, there's more. Go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, click the link, click the link, click the link. If you click that link right now, before August 31st, 2023, 11:59 p.m., I'm going to give you more stuff. What? Yes, I'm going to give you more stuff. I love this. This is my favorite part. If you click that link right now, you're going to get the following fast action bonuses. The first thing you're going to get is the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group Trial Membership. This is a hands-on, we're starting this September. We are back to live in-person training on the third Saturday of every month. People come in from all over Southern California. They log in from Zoom from all over the world. And from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., we drill on the exact skills you want to learn that day so you can go out into the real world and apply them. So you're not going to get a certificate from this membership. What you're going to get is hands-on training. You're going to get real world feedback. You're going to be able, you literally come in and I say, Jeff, what do you want to learn? And Lottie, what do you want to learn? And Jesse, what do you want to learn? And John, what do you want to learn? Seth, what do you want to learn? David, what do you want to learn? And I literally write it on the board and I step back and I look at what do all these things have in common? What are the connecting threads? And I create a lesson plan right on the spot just for you and the group. And for the next 4 to 6 hours, we drill you on those skills until you can do them in your sleep. This is the perfect complement to the home study course. Why? Because if there's something you're having trouble with, there's a question you need answered, you need people to practice with and be practiced on. This is your chance to get that experience, right? I understand full well that some people logistically simply can't come to California or Las Vegas or wherever we're doing a live training. This is what we give you instead. This is how you can get the most important aspect of this, the hands-on training to go from interesting information to unstoppable persuasion. Okay, we're doing them live again. We're doing hybrids where people are zooming in, and we're going to be doing that at the Country Inn and Suites here in Southern California, third Saturday every month. Now, in case you didn't know, the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group is the world's oldest, longest running mentoring program in existence. We've been running it nonstop every month for over 11 years. We've been running since October 2010. So that's going on 13 years now, isn't it? Right? 13 years. We've videotaped every single practice session we've had, and we've archived those on our YouTube channel. We've archived those on our website, on our NLP Power website, and we've archived them in our Facebook groups. As a member of the NLP Power Practice Group, you will have unfettered, unlimited access to the entire 13-year archive for as long as you're a member in good standing. It's a $1,597 value, and it has anything you could imagine, right? Everything from dating and attraction, counter manipulation, lie detection, face reading, energy work, trauma resolution, law of attraction training, accelerated learning, enhanced memory functions, psychic development, copywriting and marketing training, regression training, instant and rapid inductions, conversational hypnosis, mind control trainings, behavioral influence and profiling trainings. It's all in there, right? Because those were the things you guys wanted to know about, and that's what we taught. And for as long as you're a member, you get access to all of it. $1,597, right? It's yours free. If after 90 days you're loving what you're learning, you're loving the hands-on, you're loving the video archive that's never seen the light of day, 99.99% of this content has never been released on our YouTube channel. It's never been released as a product. The only place you can get access to it is through the Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group membership. Okay. Again, we're going to give it to you free. If after 90 days you're loving it, pick up the phone, let me know. We'll show you how to extend your membership. If after 90 days you've got what you needed, you're ready to go out, you're all happy. Well, you got 90 days of hanging out with some of the coolest people on the planet, practicing some of the coolest skill sets that exist. I love this stuff. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm so jazzed that we're actually going back to live in-person trainings where now you can really feel the power of this. So the total combined value of everything I've talked about so far is $10,078, but we're not going to stop there. If you're one of the first people to click those links, we're going to give you this too. This is the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course. This is a course I created many, many years ago to get people a fast start to hypnotizing people in normal conversations. You're going to get, in this video, you're going to get books, you're going to get videos, you're going to get transcripts, you're going to get hands-on training in the 7 most powerful language patterns that exist, instant and rapid hypnosis inductions, lie detection, hypnotic anchoring, which is one of the most powerful things that NLP has to give us in terms of locking in certain types of behavioral state control and stuff like that. You're going to get all kinds of extra bonus videos as well. This course was designed as a fast start course. You literally watch 2 videos, read a manual, and you can be out hypnotizing people during normal conversations in 4 hours. It doesn't really get any faster than that. Okay. It's a $997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free for those of you who are impatient like me. If my superpower, I like to tell people, is impatience. If it's not fast, it's not consistent, I throw it out and I find something that works better. This works. Okay. It's been one of our best sellers for many, many years, and it'll change your life. Everything will change your life, but this will get you really, really fast start. So total combined value is $11,075. Hold on to your hats, because if you're one of the first 21 people to click that link right now, you're also going to get this. You're going to get a free VIP ticket to the next Killer Influence 24 Secrets of Covert Hypnosis Live Certification Bootcamp. This is a 5-day deep dive intensive into the art and science of covert hypnotic influence. Everything we've talked about and a whole lot more. It's January 23rd through the 27th. We're tentatively scheduled to hold that event at the Country Inn and Suites, 5975 Lusk Boulevard in San Diego. It's a $2,250 value. And during this 5 full days of hands-on training, you're going to learn how to control your emotional state so nobody else can do it against your will ever again. How to take that emotional power that you've created and Bluetooth yourself to another human being and cause them to feel whatever way you want to feel, so they'll think the way you want them to think, so they'll literally do what you want them to do. Teach you how to emanate charisma on command and radiate trust, sincerity, love, and connection to everyone, not just a person, but an entire room. How to take over groups and become the charismatic leader of groups of people. How to make people like, love, and trust you. How to hypnotize people during normal conversations. How to read anyone instantly, detect lies, profile their personalities, and much, much more. This is one of the most powerful, transformational, life-changing experiences you will ever have. And as you go through this training, you will embody all of the skills you've heard me talk about today. And it just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger still. It's a $2,250 value. Total combined value is $13,325. Right? Now, let me tell you something a little bit about this particular bonus and why it's such a cool deal. This is what we call a VIP super ticket. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that if you get this course now and you qualify for this bonus, you get to, if the training sells out, you get your own, we'll find a seat for you. If something comes up at the last minute and you can't attend the class, we'll move you to another training. If you weren't planning on coming to this training because of your work schedule or family obligations, and all of a sudden your schedule frees up and you want to come, but the class is sold out. And this class will sell out, by the way, because the venue the room that I'm doing it in only holds 30 classroom style. And so there's actually a room limiter on this. So you might want to go ahead and get your class now, reserved before they're all full. Especially since I have 15 mega platinums who always get first come, first serve. Anyway, as I was saying, if something comes up at the last minute and you want to come to the training, but it's sold out, we will find a seat for you. We will literally make a seat if we know you want to come to this training. The only thing that we ask is that if you know you're coming, don't just show up. Reach out to me or whoever is running my my customer service, maybe Stephanie or whatever, and let us know you're coming, because we try to have all the, we don't want to have to rush around at the last minute and make more manuals or get more manuals than we need. We want to have just enough for the people. So all we ask is that if you know you're coming, just let us know. Even if it's a day's notice, it's good enough, right? But just let us know. Now, one of the things that happens a lot of times is trainings sell out, things happen. If that happens, we'll move you to another training or we'll make a seat for you at the training you want to come to. The other thing that happens a lot of times is inflation. We all know that shit's going up. If the price of this course gets raised, your price is guaranteed. You will never pay a dime more than you're paying today to get into that training. And repeat that. No matter how much the price goes up, if you have one of these VIP tickets, you will never pay a dime more to attend a 5-day live training with me than you're paying today. As long as you're in the database and we can check it, you get it. Okay. If you want to gift this ticket to somebody else who you think can use it more, you can do that too. Right. So again, if you want to gift it to somebody, you can. If you want to hold on to it, it doesn't expire. So if in 2041, I'm still alive, you decide you want to come to a training, as long as you're in the database, which you should be because these things don't expire, you can come. Right. So I'm really proud of this, our VIP ticket program, because it really gives people the ability to customize how fast they want to move through the process of becoming powerful. It's a $2,500, actually it's actually $2,750 value. I don't know how that typo got in there, but we'll say it's $2,250. It's still a bargain, right? Total value is $13,325. All you got to do, once again, to get yours is go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, www.killerinfluence.com/go. Click the link right now. Be one of the next 21 people to get this package. So you get these VIP tickets so I can personally mentor you. I can personally guide you both through the internet, at the Country Inn every month for 3 months, and live and in person. If you want to work with me, this is the most economical, efficient, and powerful way to do it. Click the link now because they're gonna go fast. In fact, they're already going fast. If the messages I'm getting from folks are any indication. Click the link right now, killerinfluence.com/go, www.killerinfluence.com/go. It's one installment of $997 or 3 easy, simple installments of just $397 each. Remember, there's always 2 payments to everything. The first one is the money. The money's the easy one. You can always make more money. It's the second one, the payment of action, the time, the energy, the effort to own these skills that gives you a power and an ability and a skill set that no one anywhere can take away from you and will serve you as long as you have the intention and the will to use it. Okay, and we'll talk about that as part of your training in Killer Influence. Click the link right now, www.killerinfluence.com/go. And again, just to review, Secrets of Human Influence Home Study Course, $2,497 value. Defense Against the Dark Arts, $1,997 value, free. Renegade Reframing, Conversational Belief Change and Objection Mastery, $1,997 value, free. Charisma and Conversion, $1,997 value, free. 3-month NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, plus the 13-year archive, $1,597 value, free. And of course, that super powerful VIP super ticket, the 5-day Killer Influence Secrets of Covert Hypnosis Persuasion Bootcamp, January 23rd to the 27th, here in San Diego, California, $2,250 value, free. Total package value, $13,325. Yours for just $997. Click the link right now. Click the link, click the link, click the link. As Ron Popeil would say, operators are standing by to fast track you into the world of human influence and persuasion. We're going to take a 7-minute break. We're going to come back at 5:50, and we're going to pick up with part 3. We're going to build on the techniques that we talked about in part 1, and we're going to start talking about how you can begin the process of protecting yourself from the dark arts of persuasion and manipulation, if that's what you want to do, or if you want me to teach you more other types of influence techniques, this is your training, this is your webinar, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to see you now at 5:51. Go use the restroom, grab a coffee, eat lots of chocolate, and get ready to play. We'll see you in a minute. Hey everyone, Dr. David back from my very quick potty break and child hug. While we got a couple more minutes until our break is over. So what I like to do when I come back early is I like to just take a few moments and while people are finalizing their packages, what questions do you have? What do you want to know about? Where do you want to go with part 3 or what have you? We got about 2 minutes until we have to start the webinar again. But what do you want to know about? Type your questions in the chat and we'll go from there. Yeah, Heather, I have lots of stories about using the echo technique with a significant other. As long as you just, I did open a loop. I got to close the loop. Remind me about troubleshooting that before you go. Betty says, already signed up during previous webinar. Was mass instruction instead of, yeah. Betty, go ahead and call Stephanie directly and see what can be worked out. Faith says, is the Stealth Instant Conversational offering in this package the same as Stealth CPI? No, it is a different course. Similar content though, similar content. Jason is asking primarily self-improvement and change, purchase course. Tom, welcome to the family, brother. Yeah, Heather says, yeah, leaving in 10 minutes, so would love that. How to protect against dark Jedis and energy vampires out there would be interesting in part 3. Okay. Manfred, let's see here. Sarah says, I know this isn't articulate, is about killer influence, but I am also interested in topics on healing self and others, becoming certified practitioner. Oh yeah, Sarah, start with identity by design, and then go to real world trauma resolution. After that, go into vibrational healing and vibrational influence. And after those 4 trainings, decide where you want to specialize or what you want to emphasize. Okay, that's our therapeutic training silo, and that's the optimum sequence that I recommend people take to maximize their ability to do this stuff anytime, anywhere. Okay, let's see here. Tom says, thanks. David says, different from what you have. I would like to know how to use this in presenting a yoga class to have part. Oh, Amani. Have you heard of Yogi Brian? Go to Instagram, type in Yogi Brian. Yogi Brian is one of my students, and he's built a massive following. Savo Kozik is also one of my students. He's also a yoga instructor. These guys are using this stuff like gangbusters to trance people through the floor and get really, really deep releases from people. This is exactly what you need for any form of teaching. Faith is saying, if the info presented is the same, I'm allowed to substitute. Yes. Let's see here. I'm just trying to get through all the 3 magic questions. Okay. Can you repeat those courses in order? Okay. All right. I think we're good. All right. Let's get back to our regularly scheduled. Will this help if I am new at? Yes. Lily or Ellie, the course, I'm sorry, I meant to say Ellie. One of the things that you guys need to understand, again, this is, we didn't, again, there are so many things I could have talked about that would have just taken us off course. But Killer Influence, the entire Killer Influence curriculum has been ranked since 2020, the #1 NLP program in the world. So literally since 2020, I've been the #1 guy. I have the #1 course, and I'm always in the top 2, right next to the founder. But put that aside, the fun factoid about Killer Influence is that I never designed it as an NLP course. It uses NLP amongst a lot of other things, but I didn't design it or promote it as an NLP course. And I designed it specifically for people who don't have any background in hypnosis or neuro-linguistic programming or any form of Ericksonian hypnosis or anything like that. It's designed for people who can't even spell hypnosis. That's why people really, in my opinion, I think it's one of the reasons why people really love the program. It's because it's designed for people who know nothing. Because if you go to my YouTube channel and you watch all my early videos, I'm not talking to hypnotists. I'm not talking to neurolinguistic programmers. I'm talking to computer programmers and plumbers and housewives and massage therapists and everybody who is doing something else who have problems that they want to solve. And they either need persuasion skills to do it or therapeutic skills to do it. So that's where I really refined and honed the materials is in people who know nothing, so they can be good. I made a joke to one of my high-level coaching clients the other day. It says a lot of people design their programs for their peers, right? For the quantum leapers, as I like to call it. I designed my stuff so that Homer Simpson could become a master of persuasion, right? That's how consistent and easy I want to make it, so that people who have no background in any of this can grab it and apply it. Which, while we're on the topic of apply, let me close a loop that I opened at the beginning of part 1 about the echo technique. When you start using the echo technique with people, it is going to feel amazing for the person receiving it. Let me repeat that. When you use the echo technique with somebody, it's going to feel amazing to the person receiving it. It's going to feel really freaking weird for you. Let me repeat that. It's going to feel really weird for you. That particular weird feeling is called the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is this feeling of conspicuousness or self-consciousness that we get anytime we're intentionally, consciously doing something that is different from our natural, normal, organic way of doing something. Here's the thing you need to understand. That's only inside of you. That feeling that you're having is only perceptible to you. But because human beings tend to project their internal environment onto the people around them and treat them as if they're feeling it too, you will often feel like they're going to catch you because you know you're doing something different than what's normal for you. It's not true. I challenge you to try and get caught. I challenge you to try and get caught. I'm going to tell you 2 more echo stories, because if there's anything that's going to prove this to you faster than anything else, it's going to be the echo technique. Okay. Once upon a time in 2012, I was hired by a security company in Israel to fly out there and train their customer service people, to train their R&D people, and to train their vice presidents. Apparently what was going on over there was that the R&D people and the customer service people were not communicating very well. There was they were just constantly bumping heads. And I don't know if you've ever worked with R&D people, but they're professional smart guys, which can sometimes be hard to deal with, because the customer service people would call up and to the R&D people and say, hey, there's a problem with this product. We need to know how to fix it. And the R&D's approach to customer service was read the manual, right? So there was some friction going on there. And so one of the first things I realized we needed to do was these people needed to feel like they were on the same team. They needed connection. They needed validation. They needed to feel like they were heard and understood. So I started teaching them the echo technique. Now, one of the things let me just say first and foremost, I love the Israeli people. They were so warm and inviting and loving, but man, they are the toughest fucking audience I've ever met. Right? Every day I was going into this to train these people. It was like a war to see who would win. So I have like 5 rows set up in my room, and they come in as a group and they all sit in the last 3 rows. And I just politely asked them, I says, can you just move to the front of the room? And they all said, no. They just stood and looked at me. No. And I was like, Then I got my little brain started thinking, because that's what I do. So, well, you know, I always make it a policy to call on the people sitting in the back of the room. They got up as a group and as a unit moved to the front of the room. The next day they come in, they're all sitting in the back of the room again. And I'm like, oh, and I said, you know, I'm going to call on the back people. And you weren't going to get us with that one. So I had my assistants come in and remove the first 2 rows. So now we had 3 rows and they're all in it, right? I still won. So I'm going through one of these classes, I'm going through the echo technique. And there's this one guy, he was like right there. And you know how sometimes you're sitting in an auditorium next to people and somebody farts, but you really don't know who it is, but it's really bad. And you just start to get that look on your face and your face gets beet red. That's this guy. I'm talking about the echo technique. And he's getting like, and at some point, he just can't take it anymore. He stands up, he looks at it and goes, I don't believe it. And for whatever reason, I had my wits about me. I go, you don't believe it? He goes, no, I don't believe it. I said, well, what specifically don't you believe? He goes, I don't believe this would work. You may have already figured out what's coming. I said, you don't believe it would work because, and he starts talking. And for the next 5, 6, 7 minutes, all I did was give him his very own words back to him. All I did. Now, he's completely oblivious, telling me I'm full of shit, going off, ranting and raving about how this could never work while I'm echoing him. Okay. So I waited for 5 to 7 minutes till he had pretty much proven my point. His friends are sitting next to him and they're like, they're all looking like, dude, he's doing it to you. They didn't say that. They were smart. Right. And then as politely and compassionately as I could, I looked at him and I said, sir, have you realized yet that for the last 5 minutes, all I've been doing is giving you back your very own words? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, he looks at the guys to his right, the guys to his right go. He looks at the guys to his left, the guys to his left go. He looks at me. Now, you ever seen the old Looney Tunes commercials where like Yosemite Sam or Donald Duck, not Donald Duck, Daffy Duck drinks too much hot sauce or gets really, really pissed off and you see the red rising up and then steam comes out of his ears? That was this guy. He turns beet red. He's like, and then all of a sudden, he just collapsed. He just gets this defeated look on his face. He looks at me, he looks around, and he says to me, are we really so stupid? And I said, sir, you're not stupid. You're selfish. Every nervous system is selfish. It's moving through the world looking for itself. When you deploy the echo technique with people, the person that's receiving it will be having the most amazing experience. And in 99% of the time, they will be completely oblivious. The people standing next to them or sitting next to them may notice what you're doing because you're not using their words. But if they were to talk to you and you echoed their words back, they'd be in this person's position and this person would pick up on it. You understand how it works? You will feel conspicuous at first because in order to do the echo technique properly, you have to stop doing what you normally do or communicate the way you normally communicate. But that level of self-consciousness or conspicuousness that you're experiencing is only inside of you. It's not going to be experienced by the people you're directing this technique at. Okay. One final story. By the way, are these stories helpful? Do they help? Do they kind of give you some background, or do you find them? Okay, excellent. Again, if I'm distracting you or I'm not giving you what you need with these stories, I'll stop. But I have one more that I think would be really helpful, and then we'll go into other stuff. Remember the gentleman I talked about earlier, the one who had gone to the T. Harv Eker seminar and had realized through the course of my training that he had the whammy put on him? The first time he came and was acting as my video guy, I was teaching the echo technique, and he's just sitting back there going, really? And so that night, he goes over to his girlfriend's apartment. He goes in and he says, hey, I learned this amazing technique today. I'll tell you about it in just a minute. But before we go any further, just tell me about your day. How was your day today? Right? And so she starts telling him about her day. And every 2 minutes, he's echoing her words. About 15 minutes in, she looks at him and goes, so what's that technique you're going to tell me about that you learned? That's so cool. He goes, in a minute, tell me more about your day. So she keeps going, and he's just echoing, and she's just rolling off 15, 20 minutes into the conversation. She goes, when are you going to tell me that technique? In a minute. I'm really enjoying hearing about your day. About 45 minutes into the conversations, 90% of the conversation is coming out of her mouth. He's just echoing, and she's running off. She's just spouting. He can't take it anymore. He bursts out laughing. And she's like, what is this about? Right? And he goes to her, you remember that technique I told you I learned it? Yeah, when are you going to tell it to me? When are you going to teach it to me? He goes, I've been doing it on you for the last 45 minutes. And then they got into an argument until he actually proved it. She goes, you've been using it on me for the last 45 minutes? I said, yeah, I've been using it on you for the last 45 minutes. You couldn't possibly. Yeah, I couldn't possibly, but I did. Right? And they just went back and forth for a few minutes. And then he said, well, okay, so let me ask you something. Technique aside, how do you feel about the conversation we've just had, the last 45 minutes to an hour? How do you feel about that? And she stopped for a moment, and she said, you know, honestly, I think this is one of the best conversations we've ever had. That lady, or actually not a different lady, but another one of his girlfriends went on to just write me a check for $10,000 because of the echo technique. She literally came and sat in on a meeting, or a class I was teaching. She was a city manager here in California, and wrangled a $1.2 million budget deal for a program that was only supposed to get a 1 million using the echo technique. Okay, so this is something that, again, there's no fluff here. It's not theory. It's used in hostage negotiation. It's used in therapy. It's used in marketing. It's a concept you need to get. Echo, when in doubt, echo it out. Okay, everything goes back to echoing. Okay, let me look at, I just want to make sure our YouTubers don't feel left out. All right, so let me go back to my chats really quick. And what do you guys want to focus on now for the next hour or so? Do you guys want to go deeper into influence? Do you want to look at the social predator stuff? Well, Tony, why are you here? What is it you wanted to learn? Social predator stuff. Okay, then let's talk about what exactly is a social predator. Okay, let me go and change my, I gotta change my PowerPoint here. So the first thing I want to talk about is what really makes a social predator. Okay, I'm gonna go to my share screen. So social predators can be defined. Let me make this a little smaller. Social predators can be defined as people we find emotionally attractive when they make us feel loved and respected and valued and admired. In other words, they use these same things that we all want to take advantage of us. So we're talking about narcissists, people who have a strong entitlement mentality and a grandiose self-view. Now, narcissism comes really in two packages. One of the things I will tell you from a therapeutic standpoint is that you will never see a grandiose narcissist in your chair unless they have to be there. What you will see many times is what we call a covert narcissist. And the way you classify the difference is covert narcissists, it's never their, grandiose narcissist, it's never their fault. Like, everybody's to blame. It would have worked perfectly if so-and-so hadn't done X, Y, Z. But everything is, they're always shifting blame to some outside agency. When something good happens, it's because of their intervention, right? He won that deal because I handed him the pencil he needed to sign it, right? And so they take credit for the deal. That's grandiose narcissism. It's very obvious. Now, remember, narcissism isn't one thing. It's a spectrum. All human beings are narcissistic to some degree. That's why your nervous system responds to the echo technique, because it's selfish. Grandiosity is just an exaggeration of something we already do and already are. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and debate whether people are narcissistic because of some damage or trauma they've suffered, or they just came out of the womb that way. I don't care. From an influence and persuasion perspective, I don't care how they got that way. What I care about is what havoc they're wreaking in my life or the lives of people I care about. And that's something that I really want you guys to understand. We're delving now into a realm of what we would consider abnormal psychology. But one of the things that it's important to understand is that most of the things we consider to be pathological are just exaggerated versions of things people already do. So as we go through this understanding of covert narcissism or grandiose narcissism, you may start to see patterns that you have. Well, guess what? You have them because you're a human being. The difference is the proportions and the predominance of these traits and patterns and characteristics in your day-to-day life and how conscious you are of them, right? One of the things that happens whenever I teach defense against the dark arts in person is everybody thinks they're a narcissist, or everybody thinks they're, a sociopath. Why? Because some of the characteristics are things they've experienced. We've all had moments like that, but the key operative word in that sentence is moments, right? When we're looking at people on the spectrum, we're looking at people who are predominantly this way in an exaggerated way, the majority of the time. Now, covert narcissism is a little bit different in how it manifests. Covert narcissism is the person is still the center of the universe, but now everybody's out to get them. Everything is an attack on them, right? A lot of times you will get the children of grandiose narcissists will actually be the ones who seek out therapy because they're looking for somebody to tell them it's not their fault, that the world is just out to get them, right? So be very, very aware of people who are playing the pity card a lot, right? Who are always trying to say, they just don't like me. They don't understand me. They're jealous of me, all these things, right? But no matter that they me dynamic is still there. It's just the difference is in a grandiose sense. It's like, I'm this and I'm right and they're wrong. And everything that happened well was because of me. And if something goes wrong, everything that happened, what I said would have worked except for these people who did that. So how should we approach that dynamic? Leave. No. One of the problems that you're going to have with both covert narcissists and grandiose narcissists is that they are going to remove themselves from responsibility and accountability for the shit they do. Okay. That's all, by the way, all social predation, all social predators have that particular characteristic. They're all going to seek some way to get out of or evade accountability for the things that they do. So in defense against the dark arts, I think we've come up with about 21 different tactics that these people use when confronted or called on their bullshit that they'll use to try and escape. Okay. There's about 6 or 7 different tactics that narcissists use to suck you back into a relationship after you get out. But they're not the only kind of social predator that's out there. So I want to talk about the other kinds, and then I want to go into what are these people looking for, and what are the big picture steps that they take to start to groom you into these less than healthy relationships. Does that sound like a plan, or is there something more specific you'd like me to talk about? Go ahead and type it in the chat. Again, this is your class. Okay, so to Alex's question on how we approach people on the narcissistic spectrum, here's the funny thing. Now, what I'm going to say is going to be controversial. Most of you won't do it, but I will tell you this. Narcissists are actually some of the easiest people in the world to manipulate. They're some of the easiest people in the world to manipulate. They're some of the easiest people in the world to predict, because you know how they're going to respond. If you can make it about them and make them the hero, they'll do whatever is necessary, right? If you want them to take an action and they're a covert narcissist and you paint them as the victim, they'll do whatever is necessary to validate that experience, right? You have to actually be a little bit more cagey and strategic, but you can count on a narcissist to do whatever makes him feel best, or her feel best about herself, makes her the center of attention or the hero. Guaranteed. You can always count on it, right? And if you want them in your camp, all you got to do is make sure they're always the hero and they're never wrong. You make everybody else wrong, right? This is such a powerful thing that in interrogation, this is actually part of their process. This is called rationalization and projection. One of the things that they'll do is they'll say, you know what? I get it. I get it. I mean, look how she was dressed. She was obviously advertising it. She was just flaunting it. She deserved what she got. This wasn't your fault. It was hers. Just tell me what happened. I get it. Right? Think about what I just said there. Right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is how this, again, if you want to read how this really works, because one of the things that narcissists are always looking for when their shit's while validating experience, oh yeah, 100%, 100%. It's rationalization and projection, right? Because in those situations, especially when they're being pressured, when they feel like they're surrounded by enemies, people automatically look for allies. What does that look like in a different context? Remember the little story I told about the guy without toilet paper? He came out, he was furious at who? The guy behind the counter, because it was his responsibility. Is it the guy's fault that there was no toilet paper in the men's room? Arguably, maybe what? But what happened? What did Kenrick do in that moment? He got angry at the thing the person was angry at. He got angrier. And now the blame shifted to somebody else. There was an alliance created. Oh, Seth wants me to tell the second half of that. Would you like to hear the second half of that story? Just to show you how powerful this is? Okay. A few weeks later, Kenrick's sitting behind the counter. Some other bodybuilder guy comes in, walks right by. Kenrick stops and says, "Hey guy, you need to show me your membership card." Guy didn't have his membership card, says, "Don't worry about it." Kenrick says, "Sorry guy, I can't let you in without a membership card." They go back and forth for a few minutes. Next thing you know, this big muscle guy reaches across the counter, grabs Kenrick by the throat. A split second after the guy reached across the counter and grabbed Kenrick by the throat, another hand comes out of nowhere and grabs him by the throat. And it's this guy who had the toilet paper issue a few weeks back. The guy grabs him by the throat and he says, "Hey, this guy's my friend. You leave him alone or you deal with me." And the smaller muscle guy says, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was your friend. It's cool. We're good. I'll go get my card." Boom. One moment of echoing, one moment of creating emotional merging and in a similar emotional vector created a bond. And this is the same thing that's being leveraged in an interview and interrogation. The difference between what we're doing here in interrogation and interview is that we want somebody in an interrogation, in a criminal setting, we want to leverage psychological levers to get somebody to voluntarily do something that's not in their best interests. It is never in a criminal's best interest to confess. But that's exactly what happens because of the psychological leverage. Right? Now, could that be useful outside of an interrogation? Yes. If you want to get the truth out of people, if you want people to confide in you and trust in you enough to share things with you, the moment you create alliance with them, the more they start to share. All of the techniques that I gave you at the beginning of the webinar, the ECHO technique, the emotional bonding checklist, the emotional motivation checklist. We didn't get the 3 magic questions, but we'll talk about that. Are designed to create that at a very, very deep, almost unbreakable level. Are there other ways to do it? Yes. Are they simpler? No. Okay. So these basic techniques will cause people to bond to you. And once they've experienced the pleasure of that connection and that bond, they will move heaven and earth to keep it. Are you guys with me so far? You understand why I did what I did at the beginning of the webinar? Because one of the things you're going to have to deal with as you move through dealing with narcissists is you're going to have people being deceptive with you. You're going to have people lying to you or misleading you in some way. So there are three kinds of lies that you will encounter out in the world. The first one is what we call lies of falsification. These are just blatant untruths. Usually, arguably, some of the easiest ones to catch, right? Some of the most insidious ones are called lies of influence. Now, lies of influence are deflections. So let's say, for example, that there's a high-rise apartment, a lot of very wealthy people living there. And one day, one of the tenants reports that all of her jewelry has been stolen. Oh, the cops are coming for me. They go to the security logs. They find out the only person on the floor in the building that day was the maid. Maid's in her late 50s, early 60s. The investigators go up to her and they say, "So I'm curious, did you take the jewelry from the Smith's house on December 13th, 2021? Sir, I've been a servant here for 45 years. I retire in three or 4 weeks. None of my ladies or my men have had a complaint about my service. How dare you accuse me of that? Why would I steal?" Now, here's my question. Did she answer my question? Yes or no? No. What did she do? She changed the subject from did she take it to why would she take it because she's such a good person. So many, many times when you start to confront people, that's the kind of response that you'll get. They'll never direct. The first flag that goes up for me when I ask a direct question, do I get a direct answer? Do I get a direct? If I get anything other than a direct answer, I put a little notch in my possible deception category. Now, the first thing you need to understand about, and I have whole webinars for deception detection. I have whole classes on it. In fact, we cover it pretty consistently in Defense Against the Dark Arts because it factors in. But I'm going to do more deeper courses. And my friend Chase does a lot with that too. So when we have to become aware of deviations from their baseline. In other words, what do they normally do? And when you put them in, give them a stressful question, do they do something else? Deviations from the baseline, clusters and baselines. So these are things that you'll learn about as you get deeper into the dark arts materials, Spycraft, which is coming out in a few weeks, and the new program I talked about. I haven't really talked about that yet, but I don't know if I'll have time, so I may have to save that for another time. How do you protect yourself and disconnect yourself from those strong bonds formed after the desire? Great question. The first thing to do is realize what happened. This is where the echo technique and all these other things come in. If you do the echo technique and the emotional bonding checklist and the 3 magic questions protocol, which I don't think we'll have time to cover in depth here, what you'll discover is you'll create a state in the other person that the deeper into that state they go, the harder and harder and harder it becomes to actually lie to you. When they go to lie, you'll literally see their physiology shift. You'll see their pupils shrink. You'll see all these tells, because in order for them to actually tell a lie from that state, they have to break the state and create mental and emotional distance in order to create the lie and then deploy it congruently. But that snap of the state will just jump out at you. This is why I tell, like, when I'm teaching attraction, and I'm teaching women how to sort for better men, one of the things that we tell people is always be testing. And that's where the 3 magic questions protocol comes in, because as they get deeper and deeper and deeper into that connection and that attraction, it becomes harder and harder and harder for them to muster the cognitive resources to be deceptive. But one of the kinds of deceptions I want you to start becoming more sensitized to is when you ask a direct question, do they give you a direct answer? And how fast does the answer come? If there's a pause, little flag should go up. If there's a deflection, another flag should go up, right? If you see physical distancing, another flag should go up. You start checking 5 or more flags, there's a high probability of some kind of deceptiveness or secretiveness coming out, okay? Is that helpful? Is that useful? Type it in the chat for me. Okay, good. So on Monday, I posted a video on body language and lie detection. I highly recommend that you go and you watch that video. Okay, because I actually cover a lot of the things I'm talking about now. Again, I have to talk about it in a slightly different context. We want to catch these people, or at the very least, become aware enough of the possibility of what's going on so that we are on our guard. The problem that you're going to have is that you won't want to do it. Let me elaborate on that. There's a program in most human beings known as a truth bias. I'm going to repeat that. There's a program that runs in human beings known as a truth bias. There is an inherent desire to believe that when people tell us something face to face, that they're telling the truth. Even when our gut's telling us that something's not right, we still want to believe they're telling the truth. Okay? And what happens is the truth inherent in a lie will deceive us, and it will trigger an editing effect. Now, let me elaborate on this. If you guys if I start to kind of fuzz you out or it gets a little confusing, but just type it in the chat and I'll try and elaborate on this. So there's a part of us that wants to believe when we read something or we hear something or somebody tells us something face to face that they're telling the truth, or at the very least, what they believe is true. Okay, we're conditioned to give people the benefit of the doubt. Social predators prey on this. Now, I'm going to make a distinction between neurotic people and character disturbed people. Most of your predators will fall into the character disturbance column, but they prey on neurotic people. The higher your degree of neuroticism, the more vulnerable you are to predation. You got me so far? Social predators are character disturbed. Average to self-conscious, hyper self-conscious people are on the neuroticism spectrum. One preys on the other. Many times, people who are deeply wounded, who are neurotic, will take on predatory tendencies as a means of either projection, reaction formation, or defensiveness, a defensive action. Let me look at there's 20. What's there? 20, there's 20 like questions here. I promise you, after this webinar, I will go back and look at all of your questions. So if you're going to decide to go on a journey for the truth, you have to go into what I call deception mode. What does that mean? You have to ignore the truth. Let me repeat that. If you're committed to ferreting out deception, how about avoidance? Some don't. Yeah, that's true. We'll talk about that actually. I'll go through that in just a minute. The reason for this is because the moment you start checking off truth, untruth, your truth bias will kick in, and you will start minimizing the incongruencies and inconsistencies in their story. Great book for this is called Spy the Lie and Get the Truth. They're written by the same authors, I believe. But Spy the Lie is really great. It talks about these lies of influence and the truth bias and things like that. But if you decide that you want to become you want to figure out the truth, you've got to ignore everything that's true and focus only on the incongruities and inconsistencies. Now, why is that? Or how does that work? Or why is this important? How many of you, by a show of that's me in the chat, have ever done any form of creative writing or editing? Like when I was in my undergraduate education, aside from my being an English major, or actually being an honors English and stuff, I was also the editor of the school newspaper. So I spent a lot of time editing shit. One of the things editors will tell you to do is after you write something, put it in a drawer, leave it sit for a few days. And when you go to edit it, edit your story backwards. In other words, start from the last page, the last line, last word, and work backwards. Why is that? Because if you try to read what you wrote and edit what you wrote from the beginning, your brain will fill in all the inconsistencies, typos, and graphical errors. Okay? Because of the way it flowed, the way you created it in your mind, things of that nature. When you start reading it from the back forward, now everything that is structurally incorrect or grammatically incorrect becomes much more obvious because your brain isn't filling in what it knows was there previously. Does that make sense? So when you go into deception mode, you have to consciously go into a state of uptime awareness, and you have to zero in only on the inconsistencies of the story. And like a bulldog or a dog with a bone, you got to stick to it. You got to stay with it. Now, that's going to cause a bunch of other chain reactions. Again, one of the reasons that people are fascinated by this stuff, but they fall victim to it, not because they're not aware of it, but because they're in denial of it. You see, when we make a decision to seek out the truth, that changes the relationships with those people forever. And some of us would rather be lied to and keep a relationship knowing it's a lie than change the status and the dynamic of that relationship to get the truth. So a lot of people don't fall victim to lies because they're fooled. They fall victim to deceit because they need to believe the lie or they lose the relationship. Does that make sense? Okay. And the reason I bring this up is because if you choose to call somebody on their bullshit, first of all, you got, regardless of what your gender orientation or preference is, physically or literally or metaphorically, you got big brass cojones. You got to call them on their bullshit. But the moment you do, shit's going to hit the fan. Are you ready for that? Are you prepared for that? One of the things I tell my students, my agents of influence, as I like to call them, is that just because you perceive it and you've elicited it doesn't mean you have to say it. In other words, a lot of times people talk to me, I know they're lying. They have deception cues left and right. They don't believe what they're saying. They're incongruent. They're inconsistent. You know, their pupils are dumping up and down like the fucking jumping bean. But I just smile and nod because I'm an influencer. I'm always thinking strategically. If I know you're lying, then I can start to reverse engineer what's behind the lie. What do you gain out of it? What do you gain from lying to me? And once I can reverse engineer your end game, I know what to do and what not to do. And so I can circumvent a lot of stuff without calling that person a liar head on. Right? The easiest punch to block is the one you see coming or the one you know is coming. Does that make sense? So one of the things I want you to do is I want you to have the skills to do this, but I also want you to have the situational awareness to know when it's appropriate to be obvious and stick to your guns and your ethical and moral principles and call that person on it, or when it's more strategic and more advantageous to just understand what this person's motive may be, what they're doing, and just close off the back doors, the little things that they're trying to access, right? One allows you to maintain at least some level of relationship that you can use. The other one burns bridges, which may be a good thing, right? You have to make that decision. So Alex is asking how to detect when someone is ready if they choose to break their deception. Okay, Alex, I don't understand the question. Okay. Is this helpful? Is this useful so far? Cool. All right. So what I'd like to do now, I'm going to talk about the other omission. The other type of lie you're going to come up across is a lie of omission. Lie of omission. Okay. They're just not going to tell you that shit. All right. So what I'd like to do is I'm just going to give you a quick reminder of what we've got for you guys as far as the offer. When we come back, after I do that, I'm going to talk about how do social predators select and choose their victims. I touched about it a little bit when I talked about character disturbed versus high levels of neuroticism. Okay. But for those of you who may have joined us late or who are wondering if you're on the fence, we've got going on here is the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It's a $2,497 value. It's going to come with some amazing bonuses. A Defense Against the Dark Arts, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. The Renegade Reframing home study course is a $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get Charisma and Conversion, Hypnotic Presentation Skills for speakers and presenters. We're going to give that to you it's $1997. It's absolutely free. 3-month NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program and Video Archive, $1,597 value, absolutely free. The Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value, free. And of course, that super VIP ticket to the 5-day certification bootcamp. All you got to do is click the link, go to www.killerinfluence.com. It's a $13,325 package. You're going to get it for one low installment of $997 or 3 easy installments of $397 each. Just go to www.killerinfluence.com/go and we'll reserve your spot for you. All right, let's talk about what I call victimology. Before I do that, I want to go over something that I think we all need to have, and this is a template. There's a certain, I think it's Stephen, is it Stephen Hassan, or there's another gentleman. Some of this material has come from a set of books called In Sheep's Clothing and Character Disturbance, and parts of it are also from my friend Chase Hughes, and other parts of it are from a book called Combating Cult Mind Control, who I think is the author for that is Stephen Hassan. So let me go ahead and look at my, let me close these loops really quick. I'm opening a lot of loops here, so I apologize because I'm actually bouncing between like 3 or 4 different notebooks where I have this information. So let's look at social predators again. So we talked at length about narcissists. Sociopathy is antisocial personality disorder. This, more than anything, is probably where you will see character disturbance really shining. People with this particular form of social or psychological illness are at war with the current societal standards of ethics and behavior. Lest you think that they're the way. Here's one of the things I want to caution you about. You don't want to make the mistake of assuming. Don't make the mistake of assuming these people are the way they are because they're damaged. Many of these people came out of the womb with this switch flipped on. Some are the result of trauma. But at the end of the day, unless you're a therapist, we don't care how they got that way. We just care about dealing with them. Okay, so let me be very clear. Sociopathic people, character disturbed people, know right from wrong. They know what society says is right. They know what society says is wrong. They don't care. They're at war. They're an aggressive personality. Now, sometimes that stuff, that aggressiveness is very obvious, and a lot of times it's not. It's passive aggressive. So you need to be very aware of passive aggressive behaviors. But one of the things that you need to understand is that a lot of these people, especially if they've been in and out of institutions, are what we call couch broken. Now, what does couch broken mean? Couch broken means that they know that the current psychological and medical model thinks that they're the way they are because they're victims, because they're injured, they've been damaged or hurt and traumatized in some way. And so they know exactly what to say, how to say it, how long to say it, so that the therapist thinks that they're actually making progress and getting cured. Not true. Okay. Again, the other thing you need to understand is that these people as a group, there can be exceptions, but these people as a group view kindness and sincerity and mercy as weakness, as stupidity. And so if you express kindness, compassion, mercy, giving them the benefit of the doubt, sound familiar? They'll interpret that as weakness, and only pray are weak. You understand? Only pray are weak. The prey doesn't deserve mercy. The prey doesn't deserve a pass. Right? This is very harsh, and it's again, like I said, this is not always the most uplifting part of the training. But I want you to understand that these people don't give a shit about you, except to the degree that you can give them what they want. Once you understand their programming, if you need to manipulate and manage them, you can. But it will involve a high degree of behavioral flexibility and expressing yourself in ways that aren't necessarily pleasurable for you, which is why it's better to avoid these people or excise them from your life than to try and manage them. Okay, so sociopaths, you're going to run into a lot. About 4% roughly of the population are sociopathic. Sociopathic people tend to do well and migrate to positions of leadership. They actually do quite well many times in positions of leadership. Okay, because they're not troubled by emotions. They tend to be able to make much better strategic decisions that have human human collateral damage is not a big thing for them, if that makes any kind of sense. Okay. Jack says, all this sounds a lot like my ex. Yeah. You may find that there are a bunch of people in your life or have been in your life that kind of match this demographic. True, not true? Okay. Yeah. In the YouTube channel, someone's saying is that narcissistic and sociopathic people are really good at targeting empaths. Yes. They're very good. Okay. So the idea is, once you've identified these people, what are you going to do about it? The first thing I would do, and the first thing I would talk about, is how important is this person to my life? And then what has to happen for them to remove them in a legal way, right? Okay. So what do these people look for, right? What you know, let me go to victimology really quick. Well, they're looking for people who are high on neuroticism. And I will go through that checklist in a minute. But if you can check any of these boxes, you're probably on the watch list. So one of the things you'll learn is that vulnerability equals suggestibility. This is one of the most one of 6 hypnotic levers that can be utilized to make people more compliant. The more vulnerable you can make somebody feel, the more suggestible they become. So if you've been diagnosed with, or you're on an SSRI prescription, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, these things will affect your suggestibility. If there's been a recent death in your family, a history of mental illness, many times you'll find people that, especially a lot of grifters and con artists, will hang out in support groups because these people are emotionally vulnerable. So if you've had any recent losses, this is something you want to be aware of. If you've had a history of mental illness, right? And people have access to your information, you may find people suddenly appearing in your life. If you're going through a recent divorce or end of a relationship, you can be vulnerable to this kind of grifting or sociopathy. Recent financial problems, loss of credit, etc. History of seeking out help from suicide hotlines. History of having very few close friends. Social human traffickers and cult recruiting often select for people who are loners, who don't have a sense of community or are looking for a place to fit in. These people are so in need of a support system that they will cleave to anyone who validates their situation. Okay, I'll talk about what we call the predator protocol in a moment. They're looking for people who are detached or estranged from their family members. Again, if you got someone who's coming from a broken home or had an abusive parent, this is again is somebody who definitely becomes vulnerable to somebody who's going to love bomb them or apply what I call the predator protocol, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Desire for notoriety, somebody who's, what does that mean? Attention-seeking behavior. Remember what I said earlier about what is the currency of relationships, guys? What is the currency of relationships? Attention. Let me scroll out a little bit. Look at these. Is there any one of these that attention doesn't play a role in? Is there any of these that attention isn't a fact, that doesn't have attention or more or less attention as a mitigating factor? SSRI prescriptions, what are this for? Usually depression, right? The famous 15 minutes of fame. Now, this one, how many people you know are the classic wild child? Like their family is like this very classic middle class, laid back church going family. And there's this one girl in the family who has just got tattoos and her piercings have piercings, and anything that's just notorious or deviant, she's all over it. Okay, this is a deviant seeking behavior or deviant seeking personality. This is a need for notoriety. Okay. Strong desire for self-expression. Hey, look at me, validate me. History of abuse, sexual or physical. Heightened disconnection. Sorry for all the typos from friends. What are we seeing here? Oh yeah, social media has made it even more powerful, right? And here's the thing to understand. To the predators, it's all a numbers game. Wait, I'm not, you guys can see my screen, right? To the predators, it's all a numbers game, right? If they walk up to somebody, get rejected, it's going to be like water off a duck's back. They know that if they just hang out in the right locations, the right population, they're going to hit. It's a numbers game. We'll talk about social stability scales and stuff like that later. Love bombing. These are all things that, okay, these are the big ones though. So again, vulnerability equals suggestibility. Recent death in the family. Again, this is a loss of a loved one. Or says, wow, I think I got targeted, right? If you here's how I would look at it. If you check 3 or more boxes on this list, you probably need to get on the program and start plugging those holes and becoming more self-aware. Okay, why is that? Because there's a formula. I don't talk about this very often. there's a formula that all of these predatory types, sociopaths, psychopaths, Machiavellians, social narcissists, dark triads, human traffickers, grifters, con artists, child molesters. There's a formula that allows them to enter into a person's world and gain a foothold and create such an imbalanced power dynamic, a sense of deep level emotional addiction, that it's almost impossible for the person being groomed to break. Okay. I'm not going to tell you how I got this information or where it comes from, but I am going to share it with you, because as I go through it, there's 5 branches to it. There's 5 phases to it. And we cover it in depth in Defense Against the Dark Arts. So if you've got that program, you're cool. It's in there. You're gonna learn this. There have been people who've tried to use this for positive reasons. I really don't know how successful they've been. Is this mind control? It's really close. It's really close. In fact, one of the things that in the research I was doing, one of the things I read was that many of the people who are groomed through the formula that I'm going to share with you, that emotional addiction to the perpetrator is so strong and so pervasive that even after the person is in jail and gets out of jail, the person who was groomed in this manner continues that relationship. They continue to stay in contact with these people because of that emotional bonding that has taken place. Now, this emotional bonding is unhealthy emotional bonding. It's not the one that I taught you. Okay. Oh yeah, Manfred, I've got a whole library of email swipes that people who are honeypotting, creating a little honeypotting mail order bride type scams, were using to just mind fuck people into giving them money and trying to bring them to this country. It's pretty interesting, right? Again, I spent a lot of time with this. Why? Because you and I, as influencers, we have a line that we will not cross, right? But there are people for whom that line doesn't exist, or view it as a mark of stupidity, a mark of weakness. And my job is to empower you. My job is to make sure that you have the skills, should you choose to go after them, to say no to these people, to remove them from your life, to catch them. Like I said before, at the beginning of this webinar, if this is the scope of everything, I got time for this. So I'm giving you the things that I think will help you. I think knowing how to classify people and what the big behaviors are is important. I think knowing what they're sorting for and comparing yourself to that victimology will help you realize where your points of vulnerability are, so you can choose to do something about them. And then once I teach you the phases, the 5 phases that these people use, if you start to feel certain shifts in your personality or start to feel certain ways, that the behaviors will start to flag. But here's the thing. If you don't have the state control, if you don't have the ability to evaluate the feelings in your body from a meta perspective, then you will become a victim of the very connections you're seeking to make. So you have to understand both sides of this. You need to know how to do these things if you want to effectively be able to prevent these things from happening to you. I mean, you can believe me or not, but this is how it is. Okay. So are any questions about the victimology I shared? Okay. How could you protect yourself when you're interrogated? Sedate yourself. Right. And again, Alex, what context would you be being interrogated? Is this by a law enforcement official, or is this like some predator cornering you? Okay, so would you like to understand? Would you like to learn in a big picture? Well, Alex, again, the secret to it is remaining relaxed. Remaining relaxed. Be aware that any attempt at befriending you is attempt to become your is an attempt to get you to for them to perceive you as being them as an ally. And if you just see them as an ally long enough, you'll start to let things slip. Right? Again, I don't advocate lying to a law enforcement official, but controlling your state, the more you can control your state and your body feelings, the less deception leakage you're going to have. Get your story straight. Make sure you can tell it backwards, because most liars can't. Okay. A lot of times, yeah. Okay. Let's see here. All right, let's talk about what I call it. I'm going to change the name of this, but right now we'll call it the Predator Protocol. Before we go into that, though, oops. Before we go into that, last call for this. If you're on the fence, okay, this is your last chance to get this. This is the Secrets of Human Influence home study course. It's a $2,497 value. It includes the Defense Against the Dark Arts home study course, live training. $1,997 value, absolutely free. Renegade Reframing, Conversational Belief Change and Objection Mastery home study course, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get the Charisma Conversion, Hypnotic Persuasion Skills for Presenters and Public Speakers home study course, $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you free. You're going to get 3 months of the Mastermind Mentoring Program, where you can go down and drill down deep on all of this stuff. For $1,597 value, we're going to give that to you free. You're going to get the Stealth Instant Conversational Hypnosis Crash Course, $997 value. We're going to give that to you free. And then you also get that VIP super ticket to the Killer Influence 5-day Covert Hypnosis Certification Bootcamp, January 23rd to the 27th at the Country Inn and Suites, San Diego, California. It's a $2,250 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. The total package value here, guys, is $13,325. You can get it all for one installment of just $997 and 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you got to do is click the link, go to www.killerinfluence.com/go, click the link, and reserve your spot so that we can make sure you get the training you need in the shortest amount of time possible. Once again, it has a 60-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied with the progress you're making and we can't help you, we'll give you a full refund. Again, you have absolutely nothing to risk. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Predator Protocol. Okay. So let's look at this. There are 5 distinct areas of influence that all persuasion predators use to condition or groom their victims and create emotional addiction. The first one is the one that every practitioner, positive or negative, of human influence has to understand. It's called proactivity. These people are amazingly powerful at profiling and reading body language. They take the time to immerse themselves in the worldview world or worldview of their victims. But not just their victims, also the victim's family, peer groups, and support systems. Okay, these people are studying everything about their target. And from that, they're going to create a legend. They're going to create a persona that allows them to fit that perfectly fits the needs and wants. Let me clarify that. The emotional needs and wants of the subject and their support systems. So, at the risk of creeping people out, one of the things that happens many, many times in cases of child abuse, child sexual abuse, molestation, things of that nature, is that the molestation is almost always perpetrated by someone close to the family or trusted by the family. A minister or a religious figure, a coach, a caregiver, an uncle, an aunt, a teacher. Why? Because these people occupy, not why do they abuse them, but what happens is people in these positions hold a highly trusted and well thought of place in our community. We don't, because of the truth bias, because of the compassion and the kindness and the benefit of the doubt side of us, we automatically think if someone shows up wearing a priest collar, that you can trust what they say, that you can trust they are who they are. Don't forget, again, we could make a laundry list of trust people who've abused the trust that they were given. But you have to remember something, is that many times the predator was already in them. The predator was already there. They just needed to create a new identity that would give them credibility, authority, and access. Okay? Very few people just wake up one day, that I know of at least, and decide to do something. I could be wrong on that, but these things build up over time. But one of the things that a predator will do is, let's say that we're talking about a child molester, all right? They're going to spend time studying the person, but also the avatar of that particular population. They're going to dress the way the child dresses. They're going to learn if the child plays video games, they will hang out in those video games and they will use the slang and the terminology and the jargon like a 9-year-old would use it. Why do they do that? Because the more they become like the person they're seeking to influence, the faster the bonding and the barriers to intimacy drop, trust happens. Does this sound like something we talked about earlier? Does this sound? Yes, it does, doesn't it? What are we talking about? You learn the technique called echoing. The echo technique is an expression or an application of a principle known as identification. Human beings are hardwired and programmed to be comfortable around people who have things in common. Okay? A predator in the profiling or proactivity stage will go above and beyond merely echoing a person's words to create that bond or to create that comfort. They will mimic clothing styles. They will play the same video games. They will read the same books. They will use the same jargon and terminology in the video games. But not only will they start to take on the attributes of the target, they will start to hang out in the places that the target or the avatar of those targets hang out. Why? Target-rich environments. People like people who are like themselves. The best book I found that's user-friendly for what we're talking about is a book by a lady named Wendy Patrick called Red Flags. Red Flags. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the flag system before we log off tonight. But they will use that empathy against you. Yes, that's right. They will create, again, their whole intention is to be the proverbial Trojan horse. right? That's basically what they're doing. So when you're presented with somebody who checks all the boxes. Now, again, we started talking about child abuse and child sexual abuse and things of that nature. That's one very evil, nasty, disgusting, form of predator. And most of them just simply aren't repentant. They just think we're stupid, so they play the repentant role. But if you're out on a date with somebody and it's a first date and they're checking all the boxes, that should be a flag. What? David, wait a minute. In another video, you said when we do the 3 magic questions, I'm looking for people who check all the boxes. Yes, you are. But you also remember, if you watch that video, I tell you, always be testing. Now, this is one of those forks in the road where I'm going to tell you, this is what's going to happen. This is what you need to do, but you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to want to do it because the energy and the connection that you've created to this person is something you don't want to give up. Let me repeat that. With many of these types of people, they have created such a state of trust and connection with you that the idea, the thought that they could be anything other than what they appear to be is almost physically painful. Remember, these people are predators. They cultivate that. They're experts at that. If you want to catch them, you need to be stronger than your feelings. You need to be stronger than your heart. Regardless of how you feel about this person, you need to check them out. You need to profile them. You need to do your due diligence. Okay? But you won't want to do it. Right? In the course that I took out of that I teach in the original Secrets of Human Influence program, Weapons of Mass Instruction, I talk about 2 phenomena that make stories irresistibly compelling. The first one is called identification. How much like the person in the story is the listener? The second one is transportability. How deep into the flow of the experience is somebody? Because the deeper they are in that flow, the harder they'll work to stay there. They will overlook glaring inconsistencies in the story that's being told because they don't want to break that flow state. Well, attraction is no different. In an attraction scenario, your system is being flooded with dopamine, oxytocin, to a massive degree. You're literally dealing with a chemical addiction that's changing your perceptual filters. And if you don't understand that, and you go into it and you're at the mercy of that chemical secretion, which these guys are experts at triggering, you're going to give people the benefit of the doubt. The things that would be obvious red flags, you'll overlook because you don't want to break the state. You don't want to engage in analytical thinking. And you have to, if you want to catch these people. Okay? Another thing that'll happen a lot of times, I'll just put this out there, is they will test your boundaries with small things to see how you react. One of the stories that Wendy talks about in her book is a serial rapist who would meet someone, he would get a new job in a new city, and he would see someone who checked all the boxes as a potential victim. And he would walk up to them, good-looking guy, and he would say, "Hey, where's a great place to eat?" And he would pump them for information about how close they live to the restaurant and stuff like that. Just very innocuous stuff. And he'd say, "Well, hey, would you come with me to check it out tonight?" And if the person said yes, he would say, "Well, I'll meet you here at such and such time." Okay. So she'd be there, and 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, he'd come strolling in. And depending on how she responded to him, he would know how solid that person's boundaries were. And if she said, oh, it's all right, it's no big deal, I have stuff to do, blah, blah, blah. The minute they cave on their boundaries, they've just flagged themselves as someone who has permeable boundaries. And so by getting them drunk enough and pressing all the other buttons, he would get them back to their apartment, roofie the hell out of them, and do what he wanted to do and leave. Okay. So there's subtle things. So people ask me, how do you protect yourself against predators? First and foremost, always be testing. Understand that these people are experts at making you feel certain ways that cause you to overlook the inconsistencies and incongruities. So just like lie detection, you need to look for the things that don't fit. You need to do it intentionally. No matter how much you want to like them, you have to assume that the carpet doesn't match the drapes, for lack of a better word. Look for inconsistencies, all right? So the proactive phase is the one where the person is getting the victimology, they're getting the address, the emotional triggers, and creating a persona, right? After that, it's about identification. They become this person that this person is emotionally vulnerable to, and they inject themselves in small bits at first into that world. And as a byproduct of that, they proceed to do several things. They create affirmation. They affirm a person's belief systems about themselves and the people in them. So if a person is like, nobody understands me, nobody gets me, they say, you know what? You are totally right. I completely understand. I've been misunderstood a lot. And they're just completely wrong. Don't listen to them. You're right about this, right? Affirmation. Remember the interrogation part I talked about earlier? You know what? I understand how it's not your fault. Right? She was wearing a short skirt. She was asking for it. She was obviously trying to loop you in. Are we seeing patterns here? The technology, what we're doing is the same. Proactivity, identification, credibility, affirmation, validation. These are the 5 phases that these predators utilize. Emotional appeal, identification, affirmation, credibility. So again, emotional appeal is, what do these people find emotionally attractive? Right? And how do I embody that? How do I express that? Identification, how much like this person can I become without arousing suspicion? Affirmation, validating a person's worldview and making them right. Credibility, this is impression management. How can I come across as being highly authoritative in their world? When you have those 5 things, you proactively know who you're searching for. You become emotionally appealing. You create identification. You affirm them. And then you have the authority and the credibility in their world. Now you have the makings of what we call an imbalanced power dynamic. And the longer that relationship goes on, the more emotionally addicted to the perpetrator the victim will become. Has this been useful? Type it in the chat. Okay. So you have the tools now to know what to look for. You have the tools now to know what they're looking for. You understand some of the snags and the pitfalls that you're going to encounter when dealing with these people, because these people are masters. You need the state control training. You need the sensory acuity. You need the ability to manage these highly fluid states and ask the right questions and being willing to accept the answers that are generated. The only way I've found to do this, besides the live trainings that we do, is the program and the package that I'm offering you tonight. If you found it useful, if you think it can help you, if it can give you the edge on both fronts, the ability to hear yes in your life more often, and the ability to say no, get the fuck out to the people who deserve to be kicked. This is the program that'll do that for you. So in the world, on a positive note, study the 3 magic questions protocol, and you will flag these people long before they have a chance to take root in your lives. Study the flags formula in Wendy's book, Red Flags. Focus, lifestyle, association, groups. You can go to their social media page, follow the protocols. And if the flags go up, Go home. I'm Dr. David Snyder. Please click that link. If any of the things that I've taught you tonight have made your life easier just by understanding them, you'll get even more by actually putting the techniques and the skill sets into practice. Remember, there's no way to get it faster and easier. It's a total value of $9.97. Just click the links right now. Get those VIP tickets. Get in the room with me. Let me put this stuff inside of you in the best possible way. I love you. I'll talk to you all soon. Remember to click the link. Post your questions in the comment section below this replay. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Good night and God bless. Take care.